subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
The operation failed, Fellweiss said. Hearing this, Dionysus paused slightly, turned his head and looked over. His expression was calm, but his swollen eyes revealed questioning. Morningstar hides a very deep secret. Its strength has reached IV.4. And it also has a special magic that can instantly increase its strength by 2 levels. My clone was defeated, and it also hurt me through the clone. Feyerwazy explained the situation. Is that so? It seems that this Morningstar is very special. Dionysus understood slightly, then looked at the information about Morningstar in his hand and murmured in a low voice. Lord Dionysus, what should we do next? Do you need my real body to go out? Feyerwazy put one hand on her chest, bent down slightly, and asked softly. No need. Now the snake has been alarmed. Next, that guy will definitely take precautions. Besides, no one knows whether Morningstar has more powerful power. Let's stop here. If it doesn't destroy the plan, ignore it. You may need to do another thing recently. Dionysus shook his head and refused Feyerwazy's request. Although the situation of Morningstar was somewhat unexpected to him, he now has another thing for Feyerwazy to do. That is to guide Loki's family to explore the fallen fairy spirit clone. Only by involving Loki's family can the group involve all the adventurers in Oreo in their plan this time. His goal is not only to destroy Oreo, but also to destroy all the hero weapons in Oreo. It is necessary to mobilize all the adventurers in Oreo with the Loki family as the base point. Only the Loki family has this enthusiasm, and the Freya family is impossible. Moreover, he is now in the open and has not yet turned into the dark, and he also needs Fellweiss to protect himself. If the clone can't deal with it, forget it. As for letting Fellweiss's body go out, Dionysus had no intention of doing so before he turned into the dark. Yes, Lord Dionysus. Fellweiss did not ask why, and responded very respectfully. Chinching doesn't know the situation here. However, it doesn't matter to Chinching whether he knows or not. Anyway, Chinching is ready to take revenge on Dionysus, although he has no ability to send Dionysus back to heaven. But as long as Morningstar gets the chance, he will definitely not mind giving Dionysus a good beating. Meanwhile, on the other side, in the upper level of the dungeon, Bird of Loki's clan was running with an irritated look on his face. The situation of Morningstar last night gave him a very strong stimulation. So early in the morning, Bert ran to the dungeon to vent, but Bert did not come alone. He came down with 10 companions from the same clan. The one who came down with Bert was an adventurer named Angel, whose strength was IV.4, and was already an adventurer who was about to be upgraded. The two fought all the way from the 1st floor to the 17th floor. On the 17th floor, the two, like Morningstar before, encountered the monster feast of the Minotaur group. Seeing the monster feast of the Minotaur group, Bert remembered the scene when Morningstar dealt with the monster feast of the Minotaur group alone, thinking that Morningstar was only LV1 at that time. But he was able to handle the Minotaur monster feast with ease, and even destroyed the monster feast bit by bit. Bert felt irritated. Bert, who was irritated, made a decision, that is, like Morningstar, to suppress his strength to the limit of IV.2 to fight the monster feast, and Angel couldn't even stop him. However, even if Bert's real level was as high as LV5 and he also had powerful fighting skills, he really couldn't do the same as Morningstar with only IV.2. This made Bert even more irritated, so Bert burst out his strength directly and killed several Minotaur in a second. Then, the Minotaur group fled without martial ethics and fled to the upper level. This confused Bert. You guys are monsters, right? How can you run away? However, despite the complaints, Bert still started the pursuit as soon as possible. Because of the large number of them and the extensive passages, even though the two were the fastest among the Loki family, they still inevitably left behind several Minotaur. The two searched for the traces of these Minotaur in the upper layer. After spending several hours, the two finally killed several Minotaur and only one was left. At this time, the two were looking for the last Minotaur. I really don't know what stimulated Bert to suppress his strength and fight the entire monster feast alone. Now, the Minotaur was scared and ran up to make trouble. Angel complained while running. However, it was a pity that Angel heard a panic scream. 267, it sounded like a girl. And Angel also heard the voice of the Minotaur from the scream of this girl. Angel rushed to the direction of the sound source as soon as possible. After several turns, Angel finally found the Minotaur, the female adventurer who was being chased by the Minotaur. Without any hesitation, Angel rushed over at the fastest speed and kicked the Minotaur's head to pieces. Blood spilled all over the ground, and also spilled on the face of the female adventurer who was chased and sat on the ground and kept retreating. Looking at the female adventurer in front of her, who looked like a tomato, Angel's eyes twitched. "I'm so sorry. If you're okay, leave here quickly," Bert said lightly, then put his hands in his pockets and left quickly. The rescued female adventurer sat there in a daze, watching Angel's figure quickly disappear in the passage. After a while, the female adventurer on the ground came back to her senses, and her bloody face was not only not afraid, but a bright smile appeared on her face. Then, joyful laughter echoed in the passage, and the girl staring at the bloody face ran forward happily, all the way to the ground. In the stunned eyes of everyone, the girl with blood on her head ran towards the direction of the guild. Near the street where the Pantheon is located, Aegina had just finished her work and rushed back from the Tower of Babel. Before entering the Pantheon, she heard a voice behind her. Miss Aegina, please tell me someone's information." Aegina turned her head and saw that the new adventurer girl who had just become her responsibility in the morning was running towards this side, happily, with blood on her face. "Belle, what happened?" Looking at the girl in front of her, Aegina's explosion sounded throughout the street. "P.S. Change Belle to Lily. There must be an existence that can be pinned on one's longing. If you still feel disgusted like this, then I have nothing to say. If you still change it like this, I don't have to write down my plan." Chapter 63. Chan Xing gets angrier the more he thinks about it, and Bayer gets down on his pedestal. "Are you saying that the sword princesses of Loki's family came to see me? Why did they come to see me?" After returning to the library, Hestia noticed the change in Morningstar's clothes and became worried about her situation. However, after Morningstar repeatedly assured her that everything was fine, Hestia was relieved. Soon after, Morningstar got this information from Hestia and was confused. "Who knows? They didn't say why they came. After hearing that you were going to the dungeon, they left." Hestia curled her lips and said, "Since they didn't say why they came, don't worry about it." Hearing this, Morningstar didn't care and nodded. "Speaking of which, I don't know how Belle is doing. Did you meet Belle when you came back?" Hestia also nodded, without continuing the topic, and then talked about Belle's situation. "I don't know. I didn't meet her when I came back. I guess she is still adapting to the environment of the dungeon on the first floor." Morningstar shook his head and said, "Well, go wash up first." Hestia nodded and urged Chinching to wash up. Chinching was attacked by the masked man, but he was not injured because of the holy grail of the netherworld. However, his equipment was broken when he was attacked, and his body was naturally covered with dust. Even after cleaning it, it was still a little dirty, so Hestia urged Chinching to wash up. "Well, I'll go wash up first, and we'll talk later." Chinching nodded, entered the inner courtyard, and went back to the bathroom in his room to wash up. After spending more than 10 minutes, Chinching came out of the bathroom and began to renew his grace as usual. Morningstar IV.2 Strength, I0, I25 Durability, 10 I21 Dexterity, 10 I23 Agility, 10 I30 Magic, 10 I28 Development Ability, Magic on Magic Thought Body Child of Light Skill Reincarnation, I God of War's Blessing, because he came back early. Morningstar didn't do much today, and each of the 5 ability values only increased by more than 20. This is already a very impressive value increase for others, but it is very unpleasant in the eyes of Morningstar, because it is the first time that Morningstar has obtained such a low ability value increase. It's all Dionysus' fault. No, separate the thought body now, and let the thought body keep an eye on Dionysus. When we find him, we can beat him up. When facing adventurers, gods can use divine power if the adventurers are aggressive, just like when Hestia was on the 18th floor in the original book. Hestia was kind and didn't do it. Otherwise, the adventurers who tied Hestia up would have been killed by Hestia's divine power. But this will be punished by the guild, and even more seriously, if it causes serious harm, the gods will be sent back to heaven. So gods will hardly do it to adventurers, and adventurers dare not do it to gods unless they have no choice. After all, no one knows whether gods will suddenly kill them. There is only one life, so don't mess around. And gods will not do it to gods, of course. It is not ruled out that some adventurers are impulsive, but the dark faction is an exception. Those gods and adventurers are all crazy and cannot be judged by common sense. There are also cases in Oreo where adventurers attack gods, but they only do so when there are gods to support them. Because with gods around, even if the opposing gods use divine power, their own gods will suppress them, and then use the adventurers to force the gods to return to heaven, which is the return of gods. This is also the reason why Morningstar is worried about Hestia and sent the light elf Xiaowang to Hestia, because he is afraid that adventurers will bring gods to attack Hestia together. Of course, some hostile gods will return to heaven on their own initiative when they are in desperate situations for the sake of dignity, and will not let adventurers attack them. During the Dark Dawn period, gods were often sent back to heaven because of defeat or returned decently. In recent years, with the expansion of the Ishtar family, many gods were sent back to heaven because of war games. I remember this. If it is wrong, please correct me. The Lucifer thought body, separated by Morningstar, is just a fake one, and it has no ability to force Dionysus back to heaven. Otherwise, Morningstar really wants to send Dionysus back to heaven with divine power and put an end to it. Of course, the most important thing is that this guy has not been exposed yet, and Morningstar cannot do anything to him. Morningstar also has no evidence that this guy is a dark faction. Even if he tells other gods about this guy through his thought body Lucifer, other gods are not great. Not only because Morningstar has no evidence, but also because the fake god Lucifer thought body of Morningstar appears in front of other gods for the first time and has no relationship with other gods and is not familiar with them. Gods will not doubt other gods because of a few words from a god who suddenly appeared, unless Morningstar finds favorable evidence. However, now Morningstar really can't find evidence to nail this guy, so he can only give up. The frustration of being attacked can only be vented by finding an opportunity to beat this guy up. However, this way of venting is also quite difficult. After all, this guy has Fellweiss by his side. Even if Fellweiss was sent by Dionysus to go to the underground city with the people of Loki's family, as in the original book, it would be the same. It is estimated that there was a clone guarding Dionysus at that time. Although he could beat him, it is unrealistic for a god like himself to have a combat power of IV.6 without using divine power. Therefore, Qinsheng did not believe that Dionysus would expose himself to danger by leading Fellweiss or her clone away from Dionysus. This is a difficult problem, which requires careful consideration and careful planning. Speaking of which, the gods' assembly will be held in a few days. Will Dionysus participate in the gods' assembly? The only possibility that Qinsheng thought of was the gods' assembly or the feast of the gods. In the original book, Dionysus did attend the feast of the gods, and he also attracted the attention of Demeter at the feast of the gods, so that Demeter investigated this guy, which led to the tragedy of Demeter's family. Even if Demeter did not investigate Dionysus, Dionysus would still take action against Demeter's family, which could freely enter and exit Oreo. Because Dionysus needed to use the special nature of Demeter's family to enter and exit Oreo. Keep an eye on it for a few days. If you can't find an opportunity, try the gods' assembly. If that guy doesn't show up at the gods' assembly, then try to hold a feast of the gods and invite all the gods to come. Then find an opportunity to beat this guy up at the feast of the gods. Qinsheng thought about a feasible plan in his heart and murmured silently. Shaking his head slightly, Qinsheng burned the grace paper in his hand, then got up and left the room, and came to the library to chat with Hestia. The two chatted with Hestia asking about Morningstar's adventure today. Now that the cards have been revealed, and Hestia knows that she is very strong, Morningstar could finally tell Hestia about her real adventure. Of course, Hestia did not tell her about the attack, because Morningstar did not want Hestia to worry. Morningstar's words were the same as when he told Aegina before. However, not long after the two chatted, a figure rushed into the library. "Belle, are you back?" Morningstar and Hestia, who were chatting, cast their eyes over it the first time. After seeing that the person was Belle, Hestia was a little surprised. She was still worried about Belle's situation just now, but now Belle is back. "Mrs. Hestia, Mr. Morningstar, I'm back." Belle greeted Hestia and Morningstar first, and then her eyes fell on Morningstar. Belle ran towards Chinching quickly, but her feet seemed to be out of sync as she ran. She tripped over her left foot and knelt down very smoothly in front of Chinching. "Hestia." "Chinching, Zuro, there's no need to do this suddenly." After being slightly confused for a moment, Chinching hesitated and then said, "Belle, vemotikon uśmiech z przymrużeniem oka." "Mr. Chinching, please train me with all your strength, train me to death." After a brief embarrassment, Belle still knelt on the ground, and then bowed to Chinching. She asked sincerely, "This is the bow that Aegeon mentioned. Where did you find it?" Looking at Belle's look, Hestia was ashamed. What is a descent from the earth?" Belle raised her head and looked confused. "Forget it. What happened that made you so anxious?" Hestia sweated again, and then stopped caring about it, and directly asked Belle about her situation. Why did she suddenly ask Morningstar to train her with all her strength? "I just went down to the dungeon." "What happened?" I met a very powerful adventurer dead and was saved." Hearing Hestia's question, Belle hesitated for a long time and then said. Hearing this, Hestia and Morningstar looked at each other. Then Hestia smiled evilly. "It's a male adventurer, right?" As early as when she was portraying the favor for Belle, Tia knew that Aurerio was looking for a chance encounter. Looking at Belle now, this is definitely the case. Hearing this, Belle's face instantly turned red, and the whole person became more embarrassed, constantly poking her hands, and did not speak. "Hestia, take Belle to update the favor." I think Belle's favor should have changed a little. Morningstar spoke at this time and said to Hestia. Morningstar now understands the situation. Belle probably met the adventurer she loves, just like in the original book, but she doesn't know who it is. However, in this case, if I guess correctly, Belle should have obtained the skill of admiring with one heart. Of course, it is also possible that she has not. Let Hestia update the favor, and you will know. Okay. Belle, come with me. I will update your favor. Hearing Morningstar's words, Hestia greeted Belle and then walked towards the inner courtyard. Yes. Belle was a little confused, not knowing what was going on, but she still responded and followed in. Chapter 64. Belle's admiration visits the Dusk Pavilion. Morningstar, Morningstar, come here, come here. Morningstar was reading a book at the cashier counter, and his attention was suddenly attracted by Hestia's voice. At the gate leading to the inner courtyard, Hestia was lying on the door frame, waving at him stealthily. Looking at Hestia like this, Morningstar suddenly remembered the emoticons in his previous life. Dog sneaking. .jpg. Speechlessly looking at Hestia, Morningstar put a bookmark on the book in his hand and closed it, then got up and walked over. After arriving at the door, Morningstar was pulled in by Hestia with a whoosh. At this time, in addition to Hestia, there was Belle here. Belle's face was red at this time. I don't know why. However, Morningstar had a feeling that with Hestia's personality, if Belle really got the same skills as in the original book, Belle after gender reversal would definitely be teased by Hestia. Belle's face is red now, probably because she was teased by Hestia. Morningstar, how did you know? Belle, this child really got a skill called one-hearted admiration, and the ability is... After pulling Morningstar in, Hestia said excitedly, and also told the effect of the ability. Is it really okay to tell me the skill? Morningstar was a little speechless, looking at Hestia, and said, it's okay, Morningstar, you won't hurt us." Hestia waved her hand casually, looking completely indifferent. Morningstar was not too surprised that Hestia trusted him so much. After all, the relationship between him and Hestia has reached this point, just short of getting on base, and they are inseparable. What else can't be trusted? Immediately, Morningstar looked at Belle and asked, 130. Who saved you? Although Belle has nothing to do with him, Belle is Hestia's family, and Morningstar also hopes that Belle can grow up quickly. The effect of the skill of admiring is precocious, which can make the owner improve his ability value much faster than other adventurers when training, and even break through the S rating of the adventurer's ability value limit to SS or even SSS. In addition, the stronger the admiration, the greater the effect, and the effect can be further improved when fighting with the object of admiration. Knowing this, Chinching naturally wants to find out the object of Belle's admiration. If possible, you can ask the object of Belle's admiration to guide Belle in battle, so that Belle's improvement speed can be faster. Chinching, what do you want? Hestia also reacted at this time and looked at Chinching and said, well, when I came back, I went to the guild and asked Miss Aegina. Aegina said that the adventurer who saved me was Miss Anna Kitty, the noble cat of Loki's family. Hearing Chinching's question, Belle's face turned redder, and the whole person became shy again. But in the end, she told the truth about the person who saved her. Hearing the words Loki's family, Hestia's eyes widened. She had the same idea as Chinching and spent some money to ask that person to guide Belle in battle. Judging from the situation shown by the skills, the effect is definitely stronger than that of directing Belle. But when she heard that it was Loki's family, Hestia was immediately upset. She and Loki were mortal enemies, and asking that guy's family to guide Belle in battle. Wouldn't that be a joke? Even if she put aside her prejudice and asked, Loki, Siege DC, would never agree. Chinching was also quite surprised. She didn't expect that the one who saved Belle would be the noble cat. In the original book, it was the sword Princess Ace who saved Belle, and now it was the noble cat who saved Belle. After a lot of twists and turns, it was not Loki. Hestia's family and Loki's family are really destined to be together. Moreover, Chinching didn't expect that Belle was actually ALN. Hestia, what do you mean? Do you have this intention? Chinching looked at Hestia and asked what Hestia meant. Morningstar knew about the grievances between Hestia and Loki. If Hestia had this intention, he could help Hestia talk to Loki's family. I have no objection to making Belle stronger faster, but Loki will never agree. Hearing what Morningstar said, Hestia frowned slightly and then said, although she and Loki were enemies, she could still let go of this grievance if it could make her family grow quickly. But even if she could let go, the other party might not necessarily do what you want. I'll go ask, if possible, ask him out to come and guide Belle. If not, forget it. Morningstar thought for a moment, then said, okay, please, Morningstar. Hestia didn't bother with Morningstar and said with a smile. Given their relationship, she didn't think it would bother Morningstar. It didn't matter if it worked or not. After all, she was going to do it tonight. Well, okay, I'll go ask now. Morningstar stretched out her hand and gently rubbed Hestia's hair, saying gently, please, Lord Morningstar. Belle also understood the current situation at this time, knowing that Morningstar was going to ask for the person she admired, and hurriedly bowed to Morningstar to thank him. It's okay, work hard. Morningstar waved his hand and said with a smile. Immediately, Morningstar turned around and left the inner courtyard, left the library, and rushed towards the direction of the Twilight Pavilion. It took more than 10 minutes for Morningstar to arrive in front of the Twilight Pavilion. Looking at the guards at the door, Chinching walked over slowly and spoke softly under the guard's gaze. Please inform that Chinching, the leader of the Lucifer clan, is here to visit. Hearing Chinching's words, the two guards' pupils shrank. One of the guards immediately shouted inside, "Open the door!" The door slowly opened, and the adventurer who shouted immediately looked at Chinching and spoke respectfully. Mr. Chinching, please follow me. Seeing the guard's reaction, Nongxing was stunned. Does he have such a big face? Just hugging the clan name and his own name, the guards treated him so respectfully. Mr. Chinching, please follow me. The guard saw that Chinching did not move and hurriedly spoke again. This time, Chinching did not continue to be dazed, nodded and followed the guard. Under the guidance of the guard, Chinching was invited to a spacious reception room. Mr. Chinching, please wait here. I will go to inform you now. After leading Chinching to the reception room, the guard said respectfully to Chinching, and then turned and left, leaving Chinching sitting on the sofa with suspicion. What happened? Looking at the door, Chinching frowned slightly, thinking silently in his heart. This is the first time I have come to the Dust Pavilion. Why are the guards of the Dust Pavilion so respectful to me? Morningstar didn't know that just now Loki had already ordered that if Chinching came to the Dust Pavilion in the future, he would not need to inform him and come in directly. Unexpectedly, not long after she gave the order, Chinching came to the door. Just after the order was given, the guards really remembered it clearly. After hearing Chinching's name, they immediately invited Chinching in. Not long after the guards left, Chinching felt a violent vibration in the corridor outside. It was not an earthquake, but a vibration caused by many people stepping quickly. Chinching knew that it was definitely a member of Loki's family coming. Soon, after a wisp of dust, a figure appeared at the gate. Moreover, it seemed that because he couldn't stop, the whole person slid out a little. Ah, Brother Chinching, see you again. Although he slid out, the person who came soon appeared. It was Diana. Diana smiled and waved at Chinching and said hello and walked in while talking. See you again. Chinching smiled and replied. As soon as the voice fell, several figures appeared at the door. It was Dion, AC, and Loki lying on AC. At the same time, Chinching also heard the voice of the elf Lafia from outside. Wait for me, Inja. However, the figure stopped talking halfway and was replaced by a panicked voice. Mr. Burt, why did you pick me up? Hey, we meet again, Brother Morningstar. Morningstar. Hey, Morningstar boy. I was thinking of looking for you. Dion, AC, and Loki greeted Morningstar and walked in at the same time. As for who greeted whom, you can guess for yourself. We meet again. Morningstar nodded and replied again. Then his eyes looked behind the three people. Compared to Loki and others, Morningstar was more curious about what Lafia's panic shout was just now. Seeing Morningstar landed at the gate, Loki and the other four also looked over. In less than 2 seconds, 2 figures appeared at the door, but the new figures were a little special. What appeared was Bert and Lafia. Bert forked with one hand waist, while Sue Fei was a little embarrassed, because she was held by the collar by Bert's hand. After seeing everyone's eyes fall on her, Lafia was embarrassed to the point of not being able to face anyone. She covered her cheeks and dared not look at everyone, and kept shouting, Mr. Bert, put me down quickly. Tis. Bert put Lafia down according to Lafia's wishes. Then, Bert looked at Chinching and frowned slightly. Are you Chinching? Yeah. First meeting, Mr. Bert. My purpose this time is to find the noble cat, Miss Anna Kitty. Chinching smiled and nodded, and then went straight to the point. 5 Bert, huh? Why are you looking for that stinky cat? Chapter 65 Bert's request facing everyone's surprise. Chinching gently explained his intention. Now it was Loki's turn to be confused. After coming to his senses, Loki exploded without hesitation. Let Angie guide Hestia's family. Were you kidding? Loki looked at Chinching with anger, his eyes full of contempt. Loki didn't know why Chinching chose Bert to guide Hestia's family members, but Loki could tell Chinching clearly that it was impossible. She and Hestia were enemies, and Hestia actually wanted her family members to guide her family members to fight. What a beautiful thought. Brother Chinching, you really said something incredible. Diana also felt that what Chinching said was too exaggerated at this time. If it was before, she didn't think there was anything wrong. There was no saying that the families could not guide other families. It depends on personal preference. But after the monster festival a few days ago, they all knew that the goddess named Hestia was a mortal enemy of their main god, or in the words of some people, an enemy. In this case, it was impossible for Morningstar to get Loki to agree to this matter. Diana is right, Brother Morningstar. This is impossible. Dion also nodded and said gently, well, everything depends on human efforts. How can we know if Loki will agree if we don't try it? Facing the kindness of the two, Morningstar smiled and replied. Before coming again, Morningstar knew that there was little hope, and this time he didn't hold too much hope. It would be best if it could work, but it didn't matter if it didn't. Looking at Loki's reaction, this matter was blown. Ace and Lafia didn't speak, but just watched quietly, because the two really didn't know what to say. This matter is somewhat far-fetched. There should be no idioms in this world, but let's just pretend that there are. Otherwise, I really don't know what to use to describe these situations. However, at this moment, Bert spoke. Is that guy your friend? Everyone's eyes forgot about the past. Bert leaned against the wall with one foot, his hands on his chest, and frowned. "Look here." "Bert." Deanna looked at Bert with some suspicion and shouted. "Ah, Belle is Hestia's family, so she's naturally my friend." Morningstar smiled and nodded. "Tell me how you did it, and I will ask the stinky cat for you." Bert nodded and said, "Hmm." Morningstar was confused because Bert's words were incoherent, and he didn't know what Bert was talking about. Not only Morningstar, but everyone else was the same. No, there was one person who was different. Ace was different. AC seemed to have heard what Bert meant. "Bert wants to know how you were able to fight the monster feast with such strength and be at ease." AC said softly. As soon as these words came out, the others suddenly realized. Tioni and Tiona both looked at Morningstar with shining eyes. This matter has always been something they care about very much. They were quite stimulated. Bert did not refute AC's words, because that was his question. He stared at Morningstar with a pair of sharp eyes, wanting to get an answer from Morningstar. Seeing that Bert did not refute, Loki frowned slightly, but did not say anything. The monster feast? It's nothing more than relying on powerful fighting skills. If your fighting skills are strong enough, you can do it. Morningstar was slightly enlightened, and then explained. When he didn't use the Samsara mode, he was at the limit of IV.2. Because his ability value exceeded S, he was slightly stronger, but he didn't reach IV.3. The reason why he was able to do that was entirely because the blessing of the god of war gave Morningstar extremely powerful fighting skills, and he used this skill to achieve this great feat. After receiving such an answer, everyone present had different expressions, because they knew it at the beginning. However, Bert was obviously not satisfied with this answer. "Fight with me," Bert said. I don't want to fight casually." Facing this sentence, Morningstar smiled and replied. He didn't want to fight meaninglessly. "Fight with me. I will help you persuade that stinky cat." Bert stood up straight, looked down at Morningstar sitting on the sofa, and said lightly. As soon as these words came out, Morningstar narrowed his eyes slightly. "Okay, let's go." Morningstar stood up and smiled back. "Oh, great. Now I can see how strong Brother Morningstar is now," Tiona said excitedly. "Let's go to the training ground." Tioni was also very excited. Tioni usually looks very calm, but in fact, Tioni's personality is hotter than anyone else. Amazon's fighting gene is stronger than anyone else. Although I saw Morningstar use some special ability to kill the new type of carnivorous plant monster in seconds before, it was obviously Brother Morningstar's trick. They haven't seen the upgraded Morningstar's hand-to-hand combat strength yet. Under the urging of Deanna and Dion, the group left the reception room and headed towards the training ground. "What is Bert doing?" Seeing everyone leave, Loki gritted his teeth, but followed them. To be honest, she didn't want Angel to guide Hestia's family, but she wouldn't interfere too much with the will of the family members. Moreover, Angel's personality was not the kind of person who would agree to such troublesome things, so Loki was so confident. But now it seems that Bert will really persuade Angel. I don't know if Angel will agree. Loki doesn't want the family members to guide the little family, but he doesn't want to interfere too much. Forcing the family members will easily cause the family to be alienated. Since it's like this, let's find a way to maximize the benefits. After thinking for a moment, Loki made a decision and followed. For unknown reasons, several people talked for a while, but none of the three giants showed up, probably not in the Dust Pavilion. Soon, the group came to the training ground of the Dust Pavilion. At this time, there were more than a dozen members of the Loki clan fighting on the training ground. The arrival of Morningstar and others instantly attracted the attention of these people. It was rare that 4 first-level adventurers in the clan, Lafia, whose magic firepower was comparable to that of the first level, and the Lord God gathered here. Moreover, AIC and others were surrounding an adventurer they didn't know and who was obviously not in the same class as the clan. This made them more concerned, and they stopped their sparring one by one and looked over here. "Here, I remember your weapon is a sword." Bert took a long sword from a weapon rack on the wall and threw it to Morningstar. "I can use any weapon, but a long sword is also good." Morningstar reached out to catch it and said with a smile, Hey, Tiona, what's going on?" A cat-eared girl came to Tioni and the others and asked them, "Angie, Bert wants to fight with Brother Morningstar." Tiona replied with a smile. Anakita, the person who saved Belle in the dungeon before, because her name is not easy to call, people close to her call her Angel. She is a second-level adventurer of the Loki family, level IV.4, and is an adventurer who is about to be upgraded. Morningstar, the new adventurer who only took half a month to upgrade. The one ordered by Loki. Hearing the name of Morningstar, Angel remembered it immediately, because it was not long ago that the order was given, and the guild also released the situation of Morningstar today. She had just seen it before, so she remembered it immediately. Well, Bert wants to fight with Brother Morningstar. Tioni also explained. I understand. Angel nodded and then stopped talking. Her eyes fell on the field, especially Morningstar. Being able to get Bert to take the initiative to invite him to compete. Plus, Qinxing is an adventurer who only took half a month to upgrade. Angel is also very interested in Qinxing and wants to know what is special about Qinxing. However, Angel's attention is on the field, while Dion and others' eyes are always on her. What are you doing? Being stared at by Dion and others, Angel asked a little uncomfortable. Angie, do you know the purpose of Qinxing coming here? Dion said with a smile. What is his purpose? He came here to ask you to help train someone. Dion explained. I don't know him. Why do you want me to train someone? Angel was confused. However, at this time, Loki also spoke and explained to Angel. The girl this morning? After listening to Loki's explanation, Angel frowned slightly. Forget it. I don't want to guide other people of the clan. Angel thought for a moment, and, as expected, she directly refused. Well, don't give a reply so quickly. Loki smiled and persuaded Angel. Hearing this, Angel's eyes fell on Loki, wanting Loki to give an answer. Angel, take the others out, don't stay here, and then come back. However, Loki did not mean to answer, but asked Angel to send the others out. She did not forget Uranus's instructions. Why Loki? Angel frowned when she heard this and raised an objection to Loki. Others also looked over and cast suspicious eyes one by one. This is an order, Loki said with a smile. Hearing this, Angel stopped asking, and the same was true for others, because Loki usually doesn't speak in this way, let alone give orders. Once a person gives an order, it means that it must be executed and no rebuttal is allowed. Angel immediately sent everyone else out, and then walked back alone. Now you can tell me why, Loki. After coming back, Angel asked Loki the question in her heart. Well, you will know it later. This is something that only the first level of our clan can know. Angel, you are about to upgrade, and this matter is also related to you, so it doesn't matter, but other people can't know it. Remember, don't leak out the things later. You will know it later. Loki explained with a smile. She had an idea in her heart. Hearing this, Angel did not continue to ask, and her eyes shifted to the field. At this time, the two people on the field have not started fighting yet. How strong are you now? I suppress my strength to the same level as you. Bert put his hands in his pockets and looked at Qinxing and said. Hearing this, Qinxing was slightly surprised, and then he said his current strength. 4.3 limit. Chapter 66. Fight. As soon as Qinxing said this, everyone present was stunned and shocked. Did I hear it wrong? I remember that he just upgraded to 4.2, not IV.3. Angel thought she had heard it wrong, and turned to Diana and others to confirm. If she didn't have Alzheimer's disease, she remembered that Qinxing was a new adventurer who had just upgraded to 4.2. But what did she hear now? IV.3? And it was the ultimate combat power of IV.3? Is this nonsense? Diana and others didn't feel any surprise. They had been shocked by Qinxing's real combat power. After all, Qinxing had shown the strength to kill the new type of carnivorous plant monster in seconds. That power could be said to have reached IV.4. Moreover, Lafia had said before that Xing's magic power is close to TV healing. Now that Morningstar said that his strength was only IV.3, Diana and the others were not surprised, but rather a little stunned, a little unbelieving. And on the contrary, they did not believe Morningstar's strength. In the minds of Diana and the others, Morningstar's strength was very exaggerated. Even across 2 levels, it should be IV.4. However, the magic and skills that Morningstar had shown before 110 were all long-range attack capabilities, and they really didn't know how close combat capabilities Morningstar had. Today, Bert wanted to know about Morningstar's close combat strength. Bert wanted to know why Morningstar could do what he did when he encountered the monster feast before. Well, let's watch the battle first, and then you can ask Loki later. Deanna smiled and replied, then turned his eyes back to the field and stopped talking. Others also stared at the field one by one. Seeing this, Anki had to suppress her inner confusion and continued to watch. Soon, the battle between Morningstar and Bert began. Bert was the first to attack. After Bert suppressed his strength to the same level as Morningstar, he attacked Morningstar. As a werewolf, Bert has a natural advantage in speed, and the improvement after upgrading is even greater. Therefore, Bert is very fast, even if his strength is suppressed. Bert's speed is already very fast. Almost in the blink of an eye, Bert has appeared in front of Morningstar. If it was before, Morningstar might have a little difficulty in reacting to Bert's speed. But today, having just experienced the attack of Fellweiss IV.6 clone, all the cells in Morningstar's body are in excitement. And he also has this kind of reaction experience of being quickly approached. Before Bert appeared in front of Morningstar, Morningstar had already predicted Bert's attack, and the long sword in his hand had already blocked Bert's path. As soon as Bert appeared, he almost hit the sword chopped by Morningstar. It was almost a face-to-face output, and it was only a few centimeters away from Bert's face. At the critical moment, Bert burst out with a stronger speed, and the whole person quickly retreated behind him, sliding more than 10 meters on the floor before stopping. Looking up, Bert's eyes were full of doubt. Morningstar grasped the timing very well, and even Bert, who had very rich combat experience, was almost hit. This is also the reason why Bert's eyes were full of doubt. Although he suppressed his strength, Bert thought that he had very rich combat experience and was much stronger than the new adventurer, Morningstar. But just now, he, who was experienced in combat, was easily controlled by Morningstar. If he hadn't burst out with more than IV.3 strength and speed, he would have been chopped down just now. Wow, Brother Morningstar grasped the timing of the battle too well. He launched a counterattack when Bert's speed exploded to the limit and he could hardly stop. Outside the field, Deanna, as a spectator, naturally saw the situation of the battle and praised him immediately. Well, even I can't find such a good time to attack. Tioni, who was standing by, folded his arms and agreed. What a strong combat experience. He can grasp the opportunity so well. Angel was also surprised at this time. No, Morningstar is not experienced in combat. In terms of combat experience, Bert is much more experienced than Morningstar. In that attack just now, Bert was almost cut. If it were me, I would take advantage of the situation and chase him without giving Bert any breathing space. But Morningstar did not. People with rich combat experience will not make such an obvious mistake in this situation. AIC shook her head and denied it. AC, this is just a sparring, not a real fight, Deanna said embarrassedly. But AC ignored it and continued. Morningstar just has very strong fighting skills and many coping skills. The perfect attack, just now, is just one of Nongxing's coping skills. Just now, when Morningstar raised the sword, she saw Morningstar's thoughts from his posture and the gesture of holding the sword. She saw several techniques that can be used to cut from Morningstar's posture and the way he held the sword. No, it should be said that there are more ways of attack, but she can only see a few of them at the moment. But she can be sure that Morningstar definitely has more than just the few attack moves she saw, and there are other ways of attack because she vaguely saw some angles that she couldn't think of at the moment. The attack just now was just the most suitable one that Morningstar chose after eliminating many attack moves. In fact, it was just as AIC thought. Although Chun Xing had been honing his combat experience these days, he could not compare with Bert, a 10th level adventurer who had fought in the dungeon for several years. It would take some time for Chun Xing to reach the first level combat experience. Well, it would take about a month. Even without the blessing of the God of War, Chun Xing's own talent was very strong, which was shown from the beginning. Without the blessing of the God of War, Chun Xing would only need half a year to hone his combat skills and accumulate combat experience to have combat experience comparable to that of a first-level adventurer. Now that he has the blessing of the God of War, he has powerful combat skills and fights on the basis of the God of War's blessing. Xing has accumulated combat experience. In terms of experience, it will only be faster if there is divine help. For example, now, although it has only experienced the sneak attack of Fire Wheezy, Xing's reaction has been much stronger. In an instant, he can use dozens of counterattacks. If it was before, it would be at most a dozen. I have said too much. After forcing Bert to retreat, Xing just felt his situation a little and then took the initiative to attack. Xing's speed is also very fast. After officially launching the attack, Xing flew out like a cannonball. Almost in an instant, he appeared in front of Bert. It was just a little slower than Bert's speed just now. Bert also reacted at this time and quickly launched a counterattack. That's right, there is no defense, just counterattack. Lifting up the golden Frostvolt kicked the sword that Morningstar was slashing at with his foot. Clang! The collision of the long sword and the metal boots. The sound of the metal clashing echoed in the training ground, and the ground trembled slightly. It can be seen that the two people's attacks just now did not have any water, and both reached the limit of IV.3. Otherwise, it would be impossible for the training ground to tremble slightly. As the battle started again, the two did not need any warm-up battle at all, and directly entered the white-hot stage, and the attacks of the two completely turned into afterimages. Loki, who was sealed with divine power and became an ordinary person, could not see the battle situation of the two people at all. He could only see that Bert's expression was very ferocious, while Morningstar's expression was very indifferent. The two people kept launching attacks there, and the sound of the long sword and metal boots colliding echoed in the training ground. Looking at this scene in front of him, Loki narrowed his eyes, and the corner of his left eye twitched slightly. I can't see clearly, it's just 4.3. Why are you going so fast? Loki tried to open his eyes wide, but he still couldn't see the situation on the field clearly. Loki scratched his hair in annoyance. Or, this is how the powerful 4.3 fights. Loki, Diana said lightly, still staring at the battlefield. This is because the two of them knew that this was a training ground, so they tried their best to avoid destroying the training ground. Otherwise, the floor on the field would have been destroyed by the fight between the two of them. Diana added, "The fighting skills of this Morningstar are too terrible." Bert was completely suppressed. Angel also spoke at this time, but she was not responding to Loki, but was shocked by Morningstar's performance. It was the first time she saw Bert being suppressed like this. The adventurers present could see the fight between Morningstar and Bert, and because they could see it clearly, Angel was so shocked. Because from the beginning of the battle, Moat was completely suppressed by Morningstar. Bert was completely unable to gain any benefit from Morningstar, and was suppressed by Morningstar all the time, falling behind. Completely suppressed, Brother Morningstar is really strong. Diana's face was full of smiles at this time, very bright. Stinky Wolf was completely suppressed. Dion couldn't help but raise the corner of her mouth. Hearing what the two said, Angel's eyes twitched. At this time, Ace spoke. Morningstar, use Bert to hone combat experience. P.S. Belle's admiration object should be changed to Angel, and BALN. Otherwise, I really have no choice, after all, in my imagination. Belle must exist, and also needs to admire this skill to quickly improve her strength. Otherwise, she can't do anything. If Belle is to be gone, there will be too many changes. Chapter 67. Loki's Conditions. AC's request. Hearing what AIC said, Dion nodded in agreement. But Bert also gained something, didn't he? Bert looks very ferocious, but this guy has been absorbing the fighting skills used by Morningstar. Didn't you notice that although Bert is at a disadvantage, he has gradually been able to keep up with Morningstar's offensive? Dion also spoke up, smiling, with surprise in her eyes. Yes, that's right. AIC agreed. You mean Bert learned fighting skills from Morningstar when fighting with him? Loki keenly captured this key point, narrowed his eyes again, and looked at several people to confirm. Well, Morningstar is using Bert to hone his fighting experience, while Bert is learning fighting skills that he doesn't know from Morningstar and perfecting his own fighting methods. AIC nodded and replied, "This battle is beneficial to both sides." Dion followed. Say, should we try to invite Brother Morningstar to fight with us? Dion also spoke at this time, saying to Diana and Ace. Hearing this, Diana and Ace looked at each other, and both saw the excitement in each other's eyes. Let's give it a try. Brother Morningstar seems to want to hone his combat experience, and we can find out the shortcomings of our combat skills from Brother Morningstar. Diana nodded and said, from the beginning, they knew that Morningstar's combat skills were much stronger than theirs, but they really didn't expect that Bert, who was not much different from them, could improve his combat skills by fighting with Morningstar. Bert could gain something from Morningstar, and so could they, and Morningstar could hone his combat experience and combat reaction by sparring with them. It can be said that both sides can cooperate and win. Oh, is that so? In that case, let Morningstar compete with you. Use this as a condition and let Angel guide Hestia's family. I believe you will not refuse this condition, and Morningstar will not refuse it either. After listening to the conversation between the few people, Loki made the decision and looked at Angel, and Diana and others also looked at Angel after hearing this, because they found that Loki was right. This situation was obviously the best way for both parties. They didn't believe that Angel would not be tempted. As an IV.4 who was about to be upgraded, Angel was not much worse than them in terms of vision. In some places, she was more perceptive than them. Finn often asked Angel to deal with some group affairs. Seeing several people looking at her, Angel thought for a moment and then nodded. She also saw that fighting with Morningstar would definitely be of great benefit to her. It seemed that it would be a good deal to agree to Morningstar's commission with this. On the field, after fighting with Morningstar again, Bert found the right time and kicked himself backwards more than 10 meters away, leaving the battle. Wait, let's stop here. Seeing that Morningstar was about to rush over, Bert quickly reached out and called Morningstar. Huh? Don't fight anymore. Morningstar heard the words and stopped charging, wondering. He was having a great time. Fighting with a first-level adventurer like Bert, Morningstar felt that his combat reaction was getting sharper and sharper, and his combat experience was almost increasing. Every moment in his mind, there would be some ideas about how to react when facing Bert's attack. Moreover, these ideas were not problematic and were all ways to deal with them. In this situation, Morningstar was very calm on the surface, but he was very motivated in his heart. Unexpectedly, Bert actually stopped the fight on his own initiative. Let's stop here. Bert shook his head and said, during the time he was fighting with Morningstar just now, Bert had learned enough combat skills from Morningstar. If he continued, Bert was worried that he would not be able to remember. After initially understanding the combat skills learned from Morningstar, he needed to give himself some time to integrate the combat skills learned from Morningstar and transform them into his own. Morningstar, as I said just now, I will go back to persuade that stinky cat. Before Morningstar could speak, Bert spoke to Morningstar again. Bert could feel that Morningstar was unfathomable in combat skills. He felt that when he was fighting with Morningstar and paying attention to Morningstar's combat skills, it was like looking into an abyss. No matter how wide his eyes were, he still couldn't see the situation clearly. This made Bert realize how terrible Morningstar was. Learning combat skills from a new adventurer like Morningstar might be a very embarrassing thing in the eyes of outsiders. But Bert knew that Morningstar's new situation was only temporary. Morningstar would soon catch up with them. Even if he only upgraded one more level, he would probably be able to be on par with him. Bert didn't feel like an enemy at all when learning combat skills from such an existence. Well, I'll leave it to you then. But I just saw Miss and a kitty. I'll go talk to her first. Hearing Bert's words, Chinching was a little surprised. Then he came to his senses and nodded with a smile. Morningstar, Angel agreed, but there are conditions. At this time, Loki's voice came from not far away. Hearing this voice, the one who reacted the most was not Chinching, but Bert. Hearing Loki's voice, Chinching and Bert were a little surprised and turned their heads to look over. You teach AI Citan and the others how to fight, and Enki teaches the child of Hestia's family. Loki led everyone over and said to Chinching with a smile. Hearing this, Chinching did not answer immediately, but looked at Anakiti. Miss Anakiti, what do you think? No problem. You teach us how to fight, and I teach the female adventurer you mentioned. Anakiti nodded and replied, okay, that's it. I'll let Belle come to you at night in the future, okay? Hearing Anakiti's words, Chinching said with a smile, yeah. Anakiti nodded again. To be honest, I have gained a lot from fighting with you. Who will come first? Many people want to fight with the first level adventurers, but don't have the opportunity. Fighting with AIC and others will definitely be a great gain for me. The battle with Bert just now is probably more than the previous one, when one person destroyed the entire monster feast. Do you want to start now? After agreeing to the conditions, Chinching looked directly at AC and the other two. He was enjoying the fight just now, but Bert stopped the fight. Now Loki took the initiative to send AC and the other four to his door, which Chinching wanted. I'll do it. Hearing Chinching's words, several people looked at each other and then looked at AC, even Anna Kitty, the person involved. Seeing this, AC spoke softly and made herself the first. AC directly used the wind spirit sprint and instantly flashed to the wall of the training ground, took a long sword from the weapon rack, and then quickly flashed back. This scene made everyone present ashamed. Is the wind spirit sprint used in this situation? However, despite the complaints in their hearts, the actions of the crowd did not stop, and they all stepped back and gave the venue to Chinching and AC. Morningstar, your real fighting power is more than what you just showed, right? Can you go all out? Standing in front of Morningstar, AC held the sword in one hand, looked at Morningstar, and said softly. AC remembered that Morningstar had entered a special state before. In that state, Morningstar was wrapped in azure flames, and one trick directly killed 3 new types of carnivorous plant monsters. AC had a feeling that Morningstar's experience in that state was even stronger. Hearing what AC said, Morningstar narrowed his eyes slightly and did not answer immediately. Morningstar knew what AC was talking about. AC was talking about her own reincarnation eye mode, which had appeared in front of AC and others during the Monster Festival. After thinking for a while, Morningstar nodded. Since AC wanted to see the reincarnation eye mode, let AC watch it. It's just entering the reincarnation eye mode to enhance strength for close combat, which is no big deal. The reincarnation eye's trick can't be used. Moreover, even if it is used, it doesn't matter. It will be exposed sooner or later anyway. The ultimate move of the Samsara eye is also a rough ultimate move, so there's no need to worry about others finding a way to restrain it after knowing the ultimate move. The restraining method of the ultimate moves of the golden will Samsara explosion and the silver will Samsara explosion of the Samsara Shenyang is a more powerful force. Without saying anything, Chinching entered the Samsara eye mode with a thought, and his whole body was covered with azure blue 013, a flame-like light, and his azure blue eyes also changed. Ah, this is it. This is it. Brother Chinching killed those new types of carnivorous plant monsters in seconds in this state. So cool. After seeing Chinching enter this state, Diana was immediately excited and pointed at Chinching and said, "They think that Chinching has the destructive power of IV.4 because Chinching killed the new type of carnivorous plant monsters in seconds after entering this state on the day of a monster festival. When Morningstar killed the new type of piranha plant monster, he was very handsome. He killed 3 piranha plant monsters in a flash of light, and the appearance of Morningstar wrapped in light and flames also nailed her aesthetic taste. It was so cool. Diana liked the heroes in the hero biography, but there was no such thing as heroes in this era. And the appearance of the hero in Diana's heart was very similar to the current Morningstar. Now seeing Morningstar like this again, Diana was naturally very excited. Everyone present agreed with Diana's words. Because Morningstar's appearance was indeed very handsome, it was not an exaggeration to say that he was handsome. However, compared to Morningstar's appearance, Dion, Bert, and others were more concerned about what was different about Morningstar in this state, except for the trick that killed the new type of piranha plant monster. Bert and Angel had never seen the situation when Morningstar killed the piranha plant monster, so they didn't have any ideas. Diana's body and mind were now attracted by Morningstar's reincarnation eye mode, and she didn't pay attention. Let alone Lafia and Loki. One is a magician and the other is a useless god, so naturally they have no idea. Only Tioni, looking at Morningstar who has entered the Samsara eye mode on the field, has a slight guess in his heart. This state feels like an amplification skill. In this state, wouldn't Brother Morningstar's physical fitness have surpassed the level to 4.4? It's no wonder that Tioni has such an idea. because the skill of Morningstar to kill the new type of piranha plant monster in one shot was too strong. If the special move can kill the new type of piranha plant monster in one shot, then its own melee strength should not be too much. P.S. I have changed it. I'm honest, please let me go. Chapter 68. Master of Everything facts have proved that Tioni's guess is not groundless. Because Morningstar's physical fitness in the Samsara I mode is indeed as high as IV.4, and it is the limit of IV.4. The Samsara I mode is completely about converting physical strength into combat power, so it can only be used in short-range combat. The stronger the physical strength of Morningstar, the greater the increase in the Samsara I mode, but the more physical strength it consumes. If Morningstar is upgraded to another level, when Morningstar enters the Samsara I mode, its various abilities will definitely be upgraded to another level. Don't think that this upgrade has no changes. Every time Enhue upgrades to a level, the strength improvement is much stronger than the previous level, because the foundation is different. The stronger the foundation, the stronger the strength improvement after the upgrade. The same is true for Morningstar's Samsara I mode. On the field, after entering the Samsara I mode, Morningstar flashed and quickly rushed towards Ace. The speed of Morningstar alone gave everyone a jump. Because it was too fast, Morningstar's speed was much faster than before he entered the Samsara I mode. Diana and others saw the speed of Morningstar the first time. Morningstar's speed had reached the speed that an IV.4 adventurer should have, and this speed was also the best among IV.4. Sure enough, I guessed right. Dion's mouth corners slightly raised and said softly, "Brother Morningstar really gave me another big surprise." Diana was also very excited at this time. This speed. Bert looked at this scene and frowned slightly. Although it was not as good as himself, it was not much worse. This speed was also the top among IV.4 adventurers who specialized in agility and dexterity. I didn't expect Morningstar to have this skill. Just now he thought that Morningstar's melee strength was only at the level of IV.3 limit. But now it seems that it is far more than that. Bert really wanted to know what else Morningstar would do, and stared at the field intently. Anakiti was also staring at the battlefield at this time, seeing that Chinching's strength has been upgraded to a higher level, and his speed is much stronger than when he fought with Bert before. Anakiti was somewhat glad that she did not refuse just now. Chinching's strength has reached IV.4 in this state. In IV.3, Chinching has burst out with such strong strength, which has made Bert gain a lot, and IV.4 will be even more. I think I will also have a lot of gains when I compete with Chinching later. At this time, Chinching and AC have already fought on the field. Compared with Bert and others outside the field who can only see Chinching's speed, AC, who is fighting with Chinching in the Rebirth I mode at this time, knows how amazing the strength Chinching has shown at this time. Whether it is speed, strength, or physique, they're all top IV.4. You know, Chinching has just upgraded to LV2, but he has jumped more than 2 levels. From IV.2 to 4.3, IV.3 to IV.4, and then IV.4 to the limit of this level, more than 2 levels, or even close to the main level. This is completely unprecedented and will never be repeated. Even the Scarlet Flower did not have this ability, and even the 2 top adventurers left by the Zeus clan and the Hera clan did not have this ability. Morningstar, what a terrifying existence! AI-C murmured in her heart, and then devoted herself to the battle. Although she was shocked by the strength of Morningstar, AI-C now just wanted to focus all her energy on this battle. She wanted to learn the skills that she could not master from this battle, fill her own flaws, and improve her fighting style, just like Bert. If Bert could do it, she could do it too. At that time, she may be able to face the monster feast of monsters with the same combat power like Morningstar, and she can also handle it with ease. Thinking about it, AIC's heart was slightly disturbed, and her mental strength was more concentrated. There were continuous violent collisions on the field. The battle between Morningstar and Bert just now was only within the range of IV.3, but this time it was IV.4, causing even stronger combat fluctuations. The two of them fought back and forth, advancing and retreating, and engaged in a fierce hand-to-hand combat within a radius of 10 meters. Whether it is AIC or Bert, who can upgrade to 4.5, they're all outstanding adventurers. Bert was able to learn useful combat skills from the battle with Morningstar, and AIC was no exception. Even because the two used the same weapon, AIC's gains were greater than Bert's. Morningstar was not surprised by this, and he also gained a lot. The battle between the two lasted only half an hour, and AIC stopped fighting on her own initiative like Bert. Let's stop here. After leaving the battle circle, AIC shouted. Seeing this, Morningstar did not continue to rush out like before, but nodded slightly to AIC. Thank you very much. AC bowed slightly to Chinching and thanked him politely, thanking Chinching for his willingness to guide her. Yes, it was guidance. In AC's opinion, Chinching's sword skills were at the top of his combat power. Morningsing's attacks can be used in both human and monster battles, without any difference. AC learned from Chinching how to combine her own human and monster battle skills, and it seems that the combination of the two will be even more powerful. AC was sure that as long as she studied these thoroughly, even if her ability value did not continue to improve, her actual combat strength would definitely have a huge improvement. However, AC felt that it was impossible to quickly complete this fusion in a short period of time, given her situation. She might have to trouble Chinching more in the future. With such a big gain, AC didn't know how to thank her, so she could only thank her in this most straightforward way. You're welcome. Chinching smiled and replied, accepting AC's gift calmly. Tiona, Anakiti, who will go first? Then, Chinching turned to look at Loki and others and shouted at Tioni and Tiona. I'll go first. The excited Tiona opened her mouth to speak, but as a sister, Tioni was faster than Tiona, which made Tina resentful. Anakiti did not stop her because she wanted to play last, and now she would watch 2 more battles of Chinching to prepare herself more fully before fighting with Chinching. And Tioni ignored Tiona and ran to the wall quickly and took out a pair of kukri that she was best at from the weapons collection. The training ground of the Loki clan is for the training of clan members, so the weapons used by each clan member are prepared here, and several copies are prepared. When Tioni took the kukri and was about to turn around to find Chinching to fight, Tioni heard Chinching's voice. Tioni, give me a pair of kukri. As soon as these words came out, Tioni was stunned, and then turned around and looked at Chinching suspiciously with an expression on her face that said, Did I hear it wrong? Others were also very surprised. Did they hear it wrong? Chinching actually gave up using the long sword and used the same kukri as Tioni. Is this going to let him go? Don't be suspicious. It's a kukri. Don't worry, I won't let you down. Looking at Tioni's frowning brows, Chinching smiled and promised. Dion then followed what Morningstar said, took another pair of kukri, and walked towards Morningstar. Meanwhile, AC had returned to Diana's side. How is it, AC? How do you feel? After AC came back, Xiangna asked AC about her feelings as soon as possible. Very good. Morningstar's strength is far beyond my imagination. I learn a lot. AC said truthfully. Before the fight, she had never thought that she could gain so much in this battle. That's good. Diana nodded and said happily. I didn't expect Mr. Morningstar's close combat strength to be so strong. Lafia was full of emotion. The previous battle between Morningstar and Bert had already shocked her very much, and she didn't expect that the battle between Morningstar and AC later shocked her even more. Lafia had never thought that a newly upgraded 4.2 could do this. Loki, do you have any ideas? Angel said to Loki. Ideas? Do you mean poaching? Loki raised his eyebrows and asked. Well, don't you have any ideas for such a demon? Angel nodded and said without disguising. Morningstar is so powerful. It would be great if it could convert to Loki's clan. I have had it for a long time, and I'm looking for an opportunity now. Loki said with a smile. The most important thing for her now is to find Lucifer, the main god of Morningstar, and deal with Lucifer before coming to Morningstar. Otherwise, if Lucifer is not dealt with, even if Morningstar is willing, it will be useless if Lucifer does not let go. You can't just send Lucifer back to heaven, right? Although Loki is the god of mischief, she really can't do such a thing. She is very law-abiding. I feel relieved that you have this idea. Angel nodded and then said no more. Just then, the sound of weapons colliding came from the field, and everyone's eyes shifted over instantly. After seeing the situation on the field, except for Loki and Lafia, everyone else's pupils shrank. "What a joke," Bert said with gritted teeth. "Are you kidding me? Your sword skills are so powerful that even AC can't match them. Now you can even use the kukri so smoothly." Using the same kukri, Dion was suppressed at the beginning. Diana twitched her mouth, smiled dryly, and then muttered softly, "Loki, act quickly." Angel didn't say much, just urged him to dig Morningstar over as soon as possible, so that he could find Morningstar to learn from him at any time. After all, they would be companions by then. So powerful. Ace murmured in a low voice. What happened?" Was Dionyson suppressed? The elf Lafia seemed to understand. "You must be kidding. You guys can use a rare weapon like the kukri so powerfully?" The violent storm of attacks swept over, and Tione struggled to resist Morningstar's offensive, which was a bit unbelievable. Her weapon is the kukri. Although she sometimes fights with her fists, she fights with the kukri most of the time. So, she has mastered the fighting skills of the kukri, and it is also an IV.5 level fork. The kukri is an unpopular weapon in Oreo, and few people use it. Among the first-level adventurers, she is the only one who uses it. She can be said to be the undisputed #1 kukri in the whole of Oreo. But now, she was easily suppressed by Morningstar in the field she is good at. She now understands AI sees feelings. However, after the shock, Tione's mouth corners quietly curled up, and a wanton and rampant smile appeared on her face. "Come on, fight, Morningstar!" The face gradually became ferocious, and a violent gene in Tione's body broke out. Morningstar, W. Winky Face. Chapter 69. Tione's Self-Doubt. Lafia's Hesitation. D. Tione is an Amazon. She has a very violent temper, and she usually tries to suppress it. But now, after being suppressed by Morningstar in the use of the kukri, Tione went berserk. Tione went berserk. Tiona looked at this scene from a distance and laughed awkwardly. Her sister has always had a very violent temper, but she has been suppressing her personality because she has a crush on Finn. Only in some extreme situations, such as extreme excitement and extreme anger, will she let go of her suppression, and then she will go berserk. Is it okay? Lafia was a little worried. She had seen Tione's berserk scene, which was very brutal. When dealing with monsters, it was completely torn apart. She was worried that Tione would lose control of her power and hurt Morningstar. After all, no matter how strong Morningstar's fighting skills were, Tione was also an adventurer of IV.5. Jumping 2 levels was already very scary, and Morningstar couldn't jump 3 levels. No problem. Dion seems to be out of control, but she is controlling her power. She is not extremely angry now, but extremely excited. She wants to have a hearty battle. Angel comforted her with her arms crossed. That's it. Dion is not using the power of IV.5 now, so don't worry, Lafia. Diana nodded and smiled. The situation is indeed as Diana and Angel said. Dion is out of control, but she has been controlling her power. Dion's current outage is just for a hearty battle. It was the first time she encountered a being like Morningstar in the field of kukri. Fighting with the same weapon is a completely different feeling from fighting with other weapons. Come again. Come again. Come again. Clang. 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 Bang. 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 The sound of weapon 020, the collision of fists and feet, and Tione's roar were heard constantly on the field. The collision of kukri and the collision of flesh when fists and feet were added. Except for not using her own full strength, Tione can be said to have used all other means. While fighting with the kukri, Tione also used fists and feet to attack. As Tione's opponent, Chinching was not afraid at all, and his kicking attack was not as fierce as Tione's. To be honest, Chinching did not have any accomplishments in fists and feet, but Chinching had the blessing of the God of War. After obtaining the blessing of the God of War, Chinching used all the weapons once. With the blessing of the God of War, as long as Chinching used a weapon once, Chinching could obtain the most perfect fighting skills that these weapons should have from these weapons. Even if he puts down his weapon, Morningstar will not lose this combat skill. With such a natural benefit, How could Morningstar let this ability go to waste? On the day when he received the blessing of the god of war, Morningstar began to act when he returned to the ground. He tried various weapons in the equipment store and acquired the exclusive combat skills of these weapons. This naturally includes boxing gloves and leg armor, which are the weapons used by Bert, and acquired the combat skills of fists and feet. Now, even without boxing gloves and leg armor, Morningstar can also exert extremely powerful fist and foot attacks. Well, I didn't expect that Brother Morningstar's fist and foot attacks are so strong. Bert, did you regret it just now? Outside the field, Deanna looked at the battle between the two and completely turned into a scene where the cookery and fist and foot attacks could be switched at any time. She turned her head and looked at Bert and asked with a smile. Even Deanna knew that receiving guidance in the same field would gain more. But Bert just asked Morningstar to fight him with a long sword, which greatly reduced the chance. I must regret it. Anna Kitty gloated on the side. Hearing this, Bert did not speak, but his mouth twitched slightly, and he silently said to himself that next time he fought with Chinching, he would fight directly with fists and feet instead of swords. Soon, the fight between Chinching and Dion ended. Because the two of them fought completely without restraint, the fight between them was much more intense than the previous two games, and the consumption of physical strength was also terrible. After the two of them finished fighting, they lay directly on the ground to recover their physical strength. It's so refreshing. Thank you, Chinching. Lying at 90 degrees beside Chinching, Dion turned her head and looked at Chinching's Lian beside her, smiling and thanking her. To be honest, she hasn't fought so happily against people for a long time. She has always dared to fight like this against monsters. Moreover, she gained a lot from fighting with Chinching. Whether it was the fighting skills of the cookery or the fist and foot attacks, she learned a lot. You're welcome. I also gain a lot. Chinching also turned her head and replied with a smile. Looking at Morningstar's face from a close distance, Dion didn't know why. Her expression was a little dazed. Yeah, come to think of it, since I fell in love with Finn, it seems that I haven't fought with others so happily for a long time. 10th level only dared to be so casual when fighting monsters. My personality has been suppressed all the time. Is it really good like this? However, at this moment, Deanna came over. How is it? Morningstar, do you need a rest? I have a potion to restore your physical strength. Do you want to drink it? Half squatting beside Morningstar, Deanna shook a bottle of potion in her hand and asked with a smile. Well, give it to me. Morningstar reached out to take it, drank it all, and then quietly waited for the recovery of this calendar. In a few seconds, Morningstar's physical strength was almost restored. The potion that Deanna gave looked quite advanced. Seeing that Morningstar had recovered, Deanna pushed Dion out of the field and then took two double-edged swords from the wall and walked over. After throwing one of them to Morningstar, Deanna couldn't wait to attack. The fierce battle began again. Today is a lucky day. In the corridor, after a battle, Deanna, who was full of joy, stretched lazily with a happy face. Indeed, it's quite enjoyable to fight with Morningstar. Dion nodded in agreement. Fighting with Morningstar, she really felt quite comfortable. Except for the strength that needs to be suppressed a little, the rest can be fought freely without worrying about hurting the opponent. Because Chinching's fighting skills are so strong that he can deal with all his attacks, and he can also learn and improve himself through fighting. Of course, the most important thing is that it is really fun to fight. She can't wait to fight Chinching again. However, she needs to integrate what she learned from the fight with Chinching just now. Indeed, I think that agreeing to Chinching's request is the best choice I have made recently. 11. As long as we continue, even if we don't upgrade, our strength will definitely change dramatically. Anna Kitty nodded and said with a smile. Well, Anki, I'll leave the child that Brother Chinching mentioned just now to you. Don't be perfunctory. Deanna nodded repeatedly and then asked Angel for help. She didn't want Angel to be perfunctory and not guide the child entrusted by Morningstar well. If Morningstar quits, then they will lose a lot. Don't worry, it won't happen. Since I promised, I will do my best. Angel nodded and said, I really envy you. Listening to the words of Dion, Deanna's sisters, and Angel, Lafia said with envy. Lafia, Didn't you say that Brother Morning Star has a strong attainment in magic? Next time, ask Brother Morning Star if you can exchange magic knowledge. Deanna looked over and suggested to Lafia. Is this okay? Will it be too much trouble for Mr. Morningstar? Lafia heard this and hesitated and whispered, Lafia, you are also very good. Don't be too proud of yourself. Don't forget, your magic firepower is IV.5, and you are not much worse than Brother Morningstar magic. Seeing Lafia so unconfident, Dion said to cheer her up. Brother Morningstar's magic firepower is only close to LV5. Don't underestimate yourself, Lafia. Angel also said. Listening to what the others said, Lafia was still a little hesitant. And at this moment, AIC, who had not spoken, suddenly spoke. Lafia, try it. Yes, AIC-san. Hearing AIC's encouragement, Lafia's inner hesitation disappeared instantly, and she said excitedly, Diana, Angel, Lafia really likes AIC. How could it be, Diana-san? Don't talk nonsense. No, it's not like that. I'm not saying that I don't like AIC. Diana's words directly made Lafia's mind a mess. Okay, Lafia, don't panic, calm down. Lafia, you stepped on my foot. Sorry, Nyon House. While AC and others were playing in the corridor, on the other side, Morningstar had returned to the library. Hestia and Belle were both in the library. Belle sat beside Hestia with a nervous expression, looking outside frequently. After seeing Morningstar coming back, Belle's eyes lit up immediately. Morningstar, you are back. How are you? Hestia naturally noticed the return of Morningstar and greeted her. Belle on the side stared at Morningstar nervously, as if she was worried about hearing bad news from Morningstar. It's done, Belle. When you come back every night, you can go to the Dusk Pavilion to find Angie, the noble cat, and let her guide you in fighting. Morningstar made a gesture to the two of them and said with a smile. Morningstar had now followed Diana and the others and called Anna Chikianki. Thank you so much, Morningstar. Hestia rushed directly to Morningstar. Morningstar quickly reached out to catch it and gently stroked Hestia's hair. Thank you very much, Lord Morningstar. On this side, after hearing the news she wanted, Belle was extremely excited and bowed 90 degrees to Morningstar and thanked him respectfully. Well, come on. Morningstar encouraged with a smile. Then, Morningstar patted Tia's wrist. Okay, Hestia, I have something to go in for a while. You come down first. Well, okay. Hestia jumped off Morningstar without hesitation. Morningstar nodded to the two and walked inside. After 4 fierce battles, Morningstar couldn't wait to update his grace and see how much his grace had improved. During the battle just now, Morningstar clearly felt his back getting hot, which was when his grace continued to improve. After returning to the room, Morningstar locked the room and then began to update his grace. The azure light flickered in the dim room. Chapter 70. Huge improvement, Chef? Hestia takes the initiative Morningstar IV.2 strength. I-25 E456 durability. I-21 E489 dexterity. I-23 E479 agility. I-30 E499 magic. I-28 I-35 development ability. Magic on Magic Thought Body Child of Light Skill Run Shung I God of War's protection, even though he knew that his gains this time would definitely be great. He was still secretly shocked when he saw the changes in the ability values on the grace paper. Because it was just a sparring match, he didn't use magic, so his magic power almost didn't increase dash. But the other 4 ability values were each increased by more than 400, and the total ability value increased by more than 1,000. Morningstar himself didn't expect such a terrifying increase. If it weren't for AC and the others needing time to settle the fighting skills they got from me, I really want to continue to spar with them. But forget it, once a week will do. You can't chew too much, so I'd better not disrupt their settling. Chinching said to himself after burning the paper of favor in his hand. AC and the others learned fighting skills from him when they were fighting with him, and Chinching knew this from the beginning. Chinching didn't think there was anything wrong with this situation. Since he decided to spar with them, Chinching had already thought of this. Being able to learn the fighting skills of others in the battle with them is their ability, and he has no reason to reprimand them. Moreover, He also gained enough fighting experience in the battle with AC and others. Before, there were only fighting skills and fighting experience needed to be honed. Now, fighting with AC and the others can do this. AC and the others still need to settle to integrate these learned fighting skills. But Qinxing can directly use these fighting experiences for his own use. With powerful fighting skills and combat experience, Morningstar's strength has undoubtedly been improved. In addition, Morningstar's fight with AIC and others has also improved his own strength. Just as Dion and others thought, these battles are a win-win situation for Morningstar and Dion. After updating Grace, Morningstar came out of the bedroom and went outside. Where is Belle? As soon as he came out, Morningstar found that Belle was gone, and only Hestia was there, and then he asked. That girl, she went back. Hestia shrugged and said, Really? What do you want to eat tonight? Morningstar heard it and nodded, and then asked Hestia what she wanted to eat for dinner. Aren't I going to cook tonight? Hearing what Morningstar said, Hestia was a little confused. A few days ago, she felt that it was not good for Qinxing to cook all the time, so she volunteered to cook. After discussing with Qinxing, the two decided to take turns every 2 days and 3 days. She should be responsible for today's dinner. Why did Qinxing prepare to cook it herself? Well, I'm in a good mood, Qinxing said with a smile. How could I be in a bad mood? I improved my ability value so much in 1 day. Okay, I want to eat steak, Hestia said directly without being pretentious. Okay, Qinxing nodded in response, then looked at the sky outside, which was gradually getting dark, turned around and returned to the inner courtyard again and entered the kitchen. Just as Qinxing stepped into the kitchen, the system prompt sound suddenly appeared in his mind again. Ding! You have a new drift bottle. Please check it. Another drift bottle? System, intervene, open. Hearing the system prompt sound, Qinxing was a little surprised, and then he silently said to open it in his heart. Ding! The drift bottle has been opened. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the peak culinary inheritance of Dragon Chef Lu Daoxing. Lu Ongxing's peak culinary inheritance. In the world of Chinese little chef, all the culinary inheritances that Lu Ongxing, who has grown to the peak, possesses. Listening to the voice of the system, Qinxing was slightly surprised. Lu Ongxing's inheritance, and it is the inheritance of Dragon Chef Lu Ongxing. This is very incredible. Without thinking, Qinxing accepted this inheritance. In an instant, a lot of information related to cooking emerged in Qinxing's mind, and with cooking came a perfect muscle memory and various abilities. Perfect muscle memory allows Qinxing to make any food without mistakes. And there are also various cooking abilities, which are all the cooking abilities that little chef Lu Ongxing learned on his journey to the peak. After receiving this inheritance, Qinxing slowly opened his eyes and was shocked. Qinxing really didn't expect that cooking skills were so profound. What a pity! It would be great if there were matching legendary kitchen utensils. Forget it, I can't chew too much. This terrible cooking skill is already very good, and I can't ask for more. Qinxing sighed slightly, but after sighing, he began to reflect on himself. Then, Qinxing walked towards the kitchen counter and started his first gourmet meal after obtaining the inheritance of the Dragon Chef. Because he had just obtained the inheritance of the Dragon Chef, as soon as he touched the kitchen utensils, Qinxing felt an indescribable excitement and directly took out all the ingredients in the refrigerator. In this excited mood, he directly made all the ingredients into dinner. When Hestia closed the library and walked into the kitchen outer room, she saw that the long table for eating in the kitchen outer room was filled with densely packed delicacies. Qinxing's kitchen is divided into an inner room and an outer room. The inner room is the real kitchen, and the outer room is the dining area with a long table at the waist. At this time, the long table was filled with delicious food, each of which was delicious and fragrant, and Hestia was almost drooling. Morningstar, it's only been 2 days. When did your cooking skills become so good? Just smelling the smell, I can't hold back. Hestia looked forward to it. She just said that she wanted to eat steak, but Morningstar actually made so much, and these looked very delicious. Hee, I just made it casually before, but I'm in a good mood today, so I made it seriously and made more. Morningstar said with a smile. I can't tell Hestia that my cooking skills were just like that before, and I have this peak cooking skills since today. But this is too much. Hestia frowned slightly and said speechlessly, "There are at least more than 20 portions of food on the long table. How can the two of them eat so much?" "Aha! Eat as much as you can. I'll find a way to deal with the rest." Morningstar touched his head awkwardly and said. Chinching couldn't really tell that he forgot about it, because he was so excited. "Well, since you've made so much, I'll take some to Belle and Hephaestus to taste, okay?" Hestia looked at the food on the table, thought for a moment, and then discussed with Chinching. "Okay, no problem." Chinching agreed directly, and then Chinching began to urge. "Okay, sit down and eat quickly." "Yeah, I can't help it." Hestia nodded repeatedly, then sat down quickly, picked up the chopsticks, and started eating. When she started eating, Hestia realized that color, fragrance, and taste were really not adjectives, but facts. It was the first time she had eaten such delicious food, and she felt that her life as a god for hundreds of millions of years was in vain. She now regretted that she had volunteered to share the task of dinner with Chinching before. Looking at Hestia's wolfing down, Chinching also sat down and started eating. It must be said that the food cooked by Chef Long is delicious. Even though these dishes are made by Chinching himself, Chinching tasted them just now, but now when he eats them, he still feels as happy as if he is in the clouds. Neither of them spoke, and quickly swept the dinner on the table. While eating, Hestia suddenly raised her head and looked at Chinching awkwardly. "Hey, Chinching, how about I leave dinner to you in the future?" Looking at Chinching, Hestia laughed dryly and said, after eating such delicious food, Hestia felt that it would be difficult for her to eat other food in the future. "Are you afraid that you won't be able to eat it in the future?" "Hestia, you have to adapt. I have to go to the dungeon, and I have already conquered the 21st floor. I will often go there for 2 or 3 days in the future. I won't have time to cook for you then." After hearing what Hestia said, Chinching immediately understood Hestia's idea and said with a smile, "Ah, that's right, Chinching, you still have to explore the dungeon." This answer made Hestia a little disappointed. It's a pity that such delicious food can't be eaten often in the future. But I promise you that when I'm at home in the future, I will take care of all the meals. Looking at the lost Hestia, Morningstar smiled and comforted her. "Well, good." Hearing this, the smile on Hestia's face reappeared, and it was very bright. Soon, the two of them cleaned up the dinner on the table. As for the rest, the two really couldn't eat it. Hestia covered her abdomen and looked at the food on the table with regret. She wanted to continue eating, but she really couldn't eat it. "Morningstar, as I said just now, I will pack up the rest and bring it to Belle and Hephaestus to taste." Hestia looked at Morningstar and said to Morningstar, "Well, okay, I'll help you." Morningstar nodded and said. Then the two began to pack up. After helping Hestia pack dinner, Morningstar chatted with Hestia for more than 10 minutes, and Hestia left the library with a packed wooden box. Morningstar cleaned up the kitchen and returned to his room. After washing up again, Morningstar leaned on the pillow and started reading a book. This reading lasted for 2 hours. During this period, Hestia had returned to the library and returned to her bedroom. After reading for 2 hours, Morningstar was ready to go to bed. However, at this moment, Morningstar, the door of Chinching's room was gently opened. "Hestia?" Chinching was slightly puzzled as he looked at the head that popped out of the door. It was so late. Why did Hestia come to see him? However, Hestia did not answer Chinching, but walked in, closed the door, and even locked it from the inside. Seeing this scene, Chinching was startled and had a premonition in his heart. Sure enough, after locking the door, Hestia said nothing and walked towards Chinching with a slightly red face. After coming to Chinching's bedside, Hestia stretched out her hands and held Chinching. "Chinching, I like you." 1. Chapter 71. Free Meals, New Magic. Son of Darkness, Chinching didn't expect Hestia to be so proactive. Originally, Chinching thought that it would take at least several months for their relationship to change. As a result, it happened so abruptly. In the past 2 days, Chinching didn't go to the dungeon, but stayed in the library with Hestia. In the past 2 days, Hestia enjoyed the feast of food brought by Chinching. She asked Chinching to cook whatever she wanted. Moreover, Something happened in the past 2 days that made Chinching laugh and cry. On the second night, Hephaestus and Chun came to the library. Kun. Chinching was a little surprised when he saw the two of them. Hey, I'm here to eat, Chinching. Chun smiled and waved to Chinching. Hearing this, Chinching looked at Hestia with some confusion, and Hestia looked at Hephaestus with confusion. I ate the food you brought that night with Chun, and after that she kept asking me where I bought the food. I couldn't stand the noise, so I had to bring her here. I'm so sorry, Hestia. Seeing Hestia's eyes on her, Hephaestus was a little embarrassed and explained in a nonsense way. What? You ate it so deliciously at the beginning. After hearing this, Chun did not refute, but curled her lips. Her words were full of disgust and contempt for Hephaestus. Hephaestus was obviously also very tempted, but she always looked calm. But Chun, who knew Hephaestus very well, knew that this guy was as greedy as herself, but just didn't want to take action herself. She simply didn't have any girl's reserve, and directly quarreled with Hephaestus for a whole day, asking Hephaestus to tell her where she bought the food. The result surprised Chun. She didn't expect that the food was made by Chinching. So Chun immediately ran to Chinching to get a free meal. As Chinching's exclusive forger, it was no problem to get a free meal here. As a result, Hephaestus followed. Hestia laughed at Chun's words. Hephaestus was exposed by Chun, and her face was a little embarrassed, but she couldn't refute it, because she really wanted to have another meal, otherwise she wouldn't have followed Chun. Seeing Hephaestus's look, Hestia stopped laughing. Chinching, let me introduce you. This is Hephaestus, my best friend. Hephaestus, this is Chinching, the owner of this library. Hestia introduced the two to each other. As for Chun, seeing Chun's reaction when she came, it was clear that Chinching knew Chun, so she didn't introduce. Chinching, please give me more advice. Chinching stretched out her hand to Hephaestus and smiled. I've heard of you for a long time, Morningstar. I'm Hephaestus. Please teach me. Hephaestus also reached out her hand and shook it with Morningstar and replied. She knew about Morningstar's consultation 2 days ago. She was very curious about Morningstar's existence, and she also knew that Morningstar was the adventurer that Hestia had always mentioned. Although she was surprised by Morningstar's situation, she had never thought of coming here. It was not until last night, when Hestia came to her with food, that she had a slight idea of coming here. But she did not implement it immediately. It just so happened that Chun came to ask her about the source of the food, so she followed along. Morningstar, you should know why I'm here. Hurry up, I can't wait to enjoy the feast. No problem. Looking at Chun with an expectant face, Morningstar nodded slightly. Hestia, you entertain them. I'll go prepare dinner. Morningstar told Hestia, then nodded to Tsubaki and Hephaestus and went into the kitchen. No problem, Morningstar, prepare more. Hestia shouted on tiptoe. Then Hestia began to entertain Hephaestus and Tsubaki. Hey, Tsubaki, how did you get to know Morningstar? After arriving in the living room, Hestia made 2 cups of black tea for the two, then looked at Tsubaki curiously and asked Tsubaki, I'm Morningstar's exclusive forger. Tsubaki smiled and told the story of how he met Morningstar and signed a contract with Morningstar to become a special forger. After listening to Tsubaki's story, Hestia and Hephaestus were both a little surprised. To be honest, I never thought that Morningstar was only IV.1 at that time. After all, the weapon used by Morningstar was not used to deal with IV.1 monsters. It is almost impossible to cause wear and tear on third-level weapons. Monsters above IV.2 are the most likely. At that time, I thought Morningstar was IV.2. I didn't expect Morningstar to be only IV.1, and now it is only IV.2 after upgrading. After telling the story of how he met Morningstar, Tsubaki sighed. I really met an incredible contractor. After sighing, Tsubaki was grateful for his luck that he could meet an adventurer with such terrible talent and potential as Morningstar. Under the current situation, if nothing unexpected happens, Morningstar will grow up soon and will definitely attack the deeper levels and the floors after the 50th floor. At that time, as Morningstar's exclusive forger, she could follow Morningstar to the deeper layers. She herself had been to the deeper layers, but she had only entered a short distance and had not reached the 50th floor. She had always wanted to reach deeper layers because deeper layers would have more precious metal materials and materials dropped by monsters. But she did not have the strength, so she could only give up the idea. And now, Morningstar gave her hope. Of course, Loki's family also gave her hope now. However, she hoped that this hope was brought by Morningstar because she had signed a contract with Birdstar. Ah, you are so lucky. Hephaestus agreed. Chun signed a contract with Morningstar as an exclusive forger by accident when she knew more about Morningstar's situation. This was indeed a very lucky thing. Now, there are probably many forgers eyeing Morningstar. At least, several senior forgers in Hephaestus' family set their sights on Morningstar after learning that Morningstar had only taken half a month to upgrade and wanted to sign an exclusive forger contract with Morningstar. But they didn't expect that Chun would get there first. It's better to keep the money within the family. Hestia also agreed very much. Hestia agreed with Chun becoming Morningstar's exclusive forger. After all, Chun is the #1 forger in Oreo besides the gods. However, if Hestia knew that Chun had been teasing Morningstar these days, she would never have such an idea and would even be wary of Chun. Unfortunately, Hestia didn't know. Chun, I'll leave Morningstar to you. Hestia looked at Chun and asked with a smile. Hearing this, Chun was slightly surprised, but then showed a meaningful expression. Morningstar's popularity with women is really good, the previous Aegina, and now Hestia is the same. It's worthy of my attention. Speaking of which, Hestia, how was the family you recruited? Hephaestus didn't know what Chun was thinking. At this time, Hephaestus thought of the family Hestia recruited and asked with concern. Ah, it's very good. Bel has a very strong talent. Hearing Hephaestus mention Bel, Hestia grinned and said happily. Yesterday evening, after Bel came back, she followed what Morningstar said and went to the Twilight Pavilion to ask for guidance from the Guy Noble Cat. The result was very good. Early this morning, Bel came here to find me to update the Grace. The Grace ability value increased by more than 200. In just one night, Bel improved so much, which made Hestia very happy. She realized the power of Bel's longed-for skill and was very grateful for Morningstar's help. If Morningstar hadn't come forward, Bel really wouldn't have been able to get such a strong improvement. As long as she keeps doing this, Bel will have the hope of reaching S in all 4 abilities within half a month, just like Morningstar. As for magic, Bel has no magic, so Hestia directly excluded magic as an ability. Really? That's good. Hephaestus nodded slightly after hearing this. Then, the two of them picked a random topic to start chatting. Chun occasionally interrupted, and the 3 of them were having a great time. On the other side, in the kitchen where Morningstar was. Morningstar's expression was a little strange at this time. Is the system entering an active period again? Looking at the drift bottle received by the system again, Morningstar muttered in his heart. This is the drift bottle that Morningstar just got, which he got not long after he entered the kitchen. There was no movement for a week before, but now new drift bottles have appeared one after another. Morningstar thinks that the system should have entered an active period. System, check open. Ding. The drifting bottle has been opened. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a magic book. Another magic book? Looking at the magic book in the system space, Chinching was slightly speechless and then used the magic book directly. The same situation as when he obtained the Son of Light before, after swimming in the ocean full of runes. Shoshin successfully obtained his new magic. Son of Darkness. Master the dark element and can create dark magic at will, including attack, defense, and assistance. Chinching. Wow, the opposite version of the Son of Light. Chapter 72, Lucifer. Morningstar's considerations light and darkness. Chinching immediately thought of a character. The name of the character he borrowed to create his clan. Lucifer. Lucifer, also known as Lucifer, is the morning star of heaven and the embodiment of light and darkness. When he was in the light, he was the vice lord of heaven. After falling into hell, he became the dark and became the monarch of hell, the devil Satan. After the fall, Lucifer possessed the power of light and darkness, and he seemed to be one now, and his name in this life was Chunxing, the morning star. This guy, the system really wanted to train himself to be Lucifer. After all, after becoming a god, his skills and magic would become divine power. System. Chinching called the system in his heart. But it was obvious that the system had no intention of explaining Chinching's question. Chinching had to give up. Lucifer is Lucifer. There is nothing wrong with it. Shaking his head, Chinching continued to prepare dinner. It took half an hour for Chinching to prepare a large table of dinner, and then called Hestia in to serve the dishes together. As soon as Morningstar called out, Hestia, the foodie, ran in very quickly. Not only Hestia, but also Tu and Chun ran in. As soon as they came in, they smelled the fragrant aroma and saw the delicious food and the aroma floating on it. It smells so good. Chun was almost drooling and quickly took over Hestia's work, picked up the plate on the kitchen counter, and walked out. Hephaestus on the side also took the initiative to take out another plate before Hestia. In the kitchen, Morningstar and Hestia looked at each other and then laughed at the same time. Then, the two of them walked out. When the two came out, Chun and Hephaestus had already placed the delicacies on the plate neatly on the dining table. Hestia, Morningstar, come quickly. Seeing the two coming out, Hephaestus and Chun called out at the same time. The two of them sat down at the table without delay. They didn't do any table manners. They looked at each other, said, "Let's eat," and started eating. It's really delicious. After so many years in the underworld, this is the most delicious food I have eaten. Hephaestus ate slowly and elegantly, but the speed of eating was not slow at all, and she even had time to sigh. I don't know how she did it. In comparison, Chun and Hestia's eating style was a bit bold, carefree, and they ate like wolves. Sitting opposite Hephaestus, Morningstar's movements were similar to Hephaestus's, leisurely, not like Chun and Hestia. Perhaps Hephaestus has developed such table manners over the years, so she will not lose her manners even if the food is delicious. But Morningstar is different. Morningstar doesn't feel like Hestia and others at all. Maybe when she ate for the first time, Morningstar would be the same as Hestia, but not now. These delicacies were made by Chinching himself. Chinching knew how delicious they were. If he wanted to eat them, he could make them himself anytime. He didn't have to worry about not being able to eat them in the future like Hestia and Chun, and desperately showed off. During the dinner, except for Hephaestus's sigh, no one spoke, and everyone was busy eating. Soon the whole table of delicacies was eaten up. It's so comfortable. Hestia leaned back in the chair, muttering in a low voice with a full face of enjoyment. After eating such delicious food, I feel that I can't eat other delicacies. Chun also started to mutter. Yeah. Hephaestus closed her eyes, her face full of enjoyment, and whispered softly. Looking at the reactions of several people, Chinching was very satisfied. The praise of diners is obviously the greatest recognition of a chef, and it is also what the chef hopes to get the most. Brother Chinching, I have an unwelcome request. At this time, Hephaestus suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Chinching seriously. Want to eat for free? Seeing Hephaestus' serious look, Morningstar guessed it at once and said her little thought before Hephaestus said it. After saying this, Hephaestus was a little embarrassed, but still nodded. After eating the food you made, I feel that other food can't attract me. If possible, I hope to come to your place for a meal occasionally. I won't come often, once in a while, and I will bring the most precious ingredients. Is it okay? Although he was very embarrassed, but feeling the taste buds still blooming, Hephaestus still said his thoughts. No problem. As long as I'm in the library, you can come here to eat anytime. Facing Hephaestus' request, Morningstar agreed without any consideration. Although it was the first time for him to meet Hephaestus, Hephaestus was Hestia's best friend and a real best friend, not those plastic best friends and plastic sisterhood in the previous life. Under this relationship, Hephaestus is also his friend. How could Chinching refuse a friend who wanted to come over for a meal? Yes, Hephaestus, as long as Chinching is here, you can come over any time you want. Hestia nodded at the side. Well, that's troublesome. Hephaestus' face calmed down a little after hearing this, and smiled. Then I want to come too. Morningstar, you won't refuse, will you? Chun also spoke at this time, looking at Morningstar with a smile. Well, as long as I'm on the ground, I can come anytime. Morningstar smiled back and responded. Well, then it's settled. Speaking of which, Morningstar, the ingredients should be gone. At this time, Hestia suddenly remembered something, looked at Morningstar and asked, "Well, I've used up these 2 days. I'll buy more tomorrow morning." Morningstar nodded and said, "The refrigerator can hold a lot of ingredients." Morningstar always buys 2 days' worth and puts them in the refrigerator. Morningstar only went to purchase some yesterday evening and used them up tonight. I'll take care of the ingredients. I have people go to Demeter's Manor every day to buy some of the freshest ingredients. I can also have people go to the harbor to find Jord to purchase seafood, and the same goes for meat. Hearing the ingredients, Hephaestus raised her hand and took charge of the ingredients. Hearing what Hephaestus said, Chinching was slightly stunned and then nodded. Okay. Afterwards, the few of them chatted for another half an hour. After cleaning up the dining table and the kitchen, Hephaestus and Chun said goodbye and left the library to return to the base. At night, Chinching leaned on the pillow, quietly thinking about what Hephaestus had just said. Chinching remembered that before Dionysus attacked Demeter, the relationship between the two on the surface was quite good, and they could be considered to be talkative. In the original book, when Ganesha opened the banquet of the gods, the two chatted together, and it seemed that they had some cooperative relationship. The grapes that Dionysus used to make wine seemed to be imported from Demeter. Perhaps you can pay attention to Demeter's situation, although it seems that it is not related at all. But if Dionysus did not show up at the assembly of the gods, and this guy did not come to the banquet of the gods, then from Demeter's, try to attack him and see if you can find an opportunity. Morningstar was a Taoist in his previous life. As we all know, Taoists are indifferent to life and death. If they are not convinced, they will fight. If they are bullied, they will not come back. Their Taoist hearts will be unstable, so they will take revenge. Although Morningstar only believes in Taoism, he is not a Taoist, but his personality is not much different. He does not want to be bullied. Sometimes when he is bullied, he'll want to get it back. This time, Dionysus sent Fireweiss's clone to attack him for no reason. Morningstar was full of anger and wanted to fight back. Even if this alarmed the enemy, Morningstar was not afraid. Morningstar was not afraid of Fireweiss. Fireweiss's clone could not beat Xiaowang's possession. Even if Fireweiss's real body was dispatched, as long as Morningstar wanted to escape, Fireweiss could not do anything to him. As for Hestia on the ground, Morningstar was not worried. Hard, because Chinching is sure that it is impossible for Fellweiss's real body to show the strength of IV.7 on the ground. At least not before Dionysus hides in the dark, because once he takes action, his strength will be exposed, which will alarm the whole of Oreo, and then the gods will not let Dionysus and Fellweiss go. You are an adventurer with only IV.3 on the surface, but you have the combat power of IV.7 in secret. If you just hide 1 or 2 levels, it's fine. But you hide 4 levels, and it's 4.7. With such a terrifying strength, what do you want to do? The gods will not pretend that nothing happened and investigate first. As long as Dionysus is not stupid, he will not let Zhangxi expose this experience on the ground at will. As for using the clone to take action, Chinching is even more 157, don't worry. I just use Xiaowang to possess and beat the clone of Fellweiss. If the clone of Fellweiss comes again, Chinching can beat her again. To put it bluntly, if Dionysus can't wait for him at the gods' assembly, then Chinching will find a way to hold a feast of gods in the identity of Lucifer and invite the gods to attend the banquet. Although this is a laborious and costly move, Chinching doesn't care and must retaliate. Of course, it would be even better if we could directly find evidence that Dionysus is a dark faction. If the Feast of the Gods doesn't work, then Chinching will have to think of other ways. For example, start with Demeter. When Chinching was thinking about how to deal with Dionysus, the door was opened. Not long after taking shower, Hestia, who was wearing pajamas, walked in. "Hey, Chinching, it's late at night. Let's rest." Hestia walked to Chinching's side and said with a smile. Morningstar reached out and hugged Hestia and fell on the bed. Well, rest. After a sleepless night, the next morning, Morningstar put on the defensive equipment that Tsubaki had repaired, put on the new weapons that Tsubaki had made, and went to the dungeon. As for Hestia, who was overworked last night, was still resting at this time. Before, Morningstar reached the 21st floor. Today, Morningstar was going to enter a new floor, but not the 22nd floor, but the 25th floor. If it hadn't been attacked by Firewise before, Morningstar would have started the strategy for the lower floors a few days ago. With the Reincarnation Eye mode turned on all the way, Morningstar spent about 2 hours to reach the 25th floor and started a new adventure. The types of monsters on the 25th floor are very different from those on the 21st floor. The 21st floor is a big tree maze, and the 25th floor is the water maze. Most of the monsters tend to be aquatic monsters. Arriving at the 25th floor, the first wave of monsters to greet Chinching was Lon, a large crab, also called a metal crab, with a very stiff shell. Chinching did not hesitate and directly drew out a new weapon to attack. What Chinching did not know was that not long after Chinching entered the dungeon, AC and others came to the library to find him. However, the library was closed, and AC and others could not find Chinching, so they followed Chinching and the four of them entered the dungeon. Chapter 73, Good Luck. Heretic Mary Morningstar naturally didn't know that AIC and others came to find him. At this time, Morningstar had already started the battle on the lower level. The shell of the metal crab is really hard. If you change to the previous third-level weapon, the shell of the metal crab will be worn out to some extent. However, this is only for ordinary adventurers. Even if Morningstar holds the previous third-level weapon, he will not be so stupid. The shell of the metal crab is indeed hard, but it is not covered by the metal crab all over. There are many places that cannot be covered. These are the weaknesses of the metal crab. With Morningstar's strength, it is very easy to attack these places. However, Morningstar is now holding a second-level weapon, or an immortal weapon. IV.3 Metal Crab. Many monsters on the ground are not marked with levels. Just come at will. This thing requires several IV.2 to join forces to kill it, and it is estimated that the level should be 4.3. In the hands of Morningstar, it is completely one sword one, and there is no need to spend a second move. Morningstar does not even need to attack the weaknesses of the metal crab. In just a dozen seconds, a group of more than 10 metal crab monsters were killed instantly by Chinching. After killing all the monsters, the next step is to pick up magic stones. Chinching bent down and picked up the magic stones that were much larger than before. However, while picking up, Chinching suddenly found that there was something special growing on the other side of the river beside him. Before coming to the dungeon, Chinching had asked Aina for lessons and used her super memory to write down some information about the lower water mystery city and even deeper floors. Chinching thought about it for a while and remembered what these things were. The reason why Water Mystery City was called Orange Water Mystery City was because of a waterfall called Jutsong, which ran through 25 Kong to 27 Kong. I think adventurers on this floor basically prepare water spirit cloth. Chinching didn't think he needed it, but Aina forced Chinching to buy it. Knowing that Chinching was going to the Water Mystery City, Aegina did not find it incredible, nor did she think Chinching was reckless. After all, Aegina was now the only one in the guild who knew the specialness of Chinching, except for the team leader and the president, the god Uranus and the Sage Fells. Regarding Chinching's desire to enter the lower level, Aegina did not stop him, but she insisted that Chinching buy the equipment needed to cope with the special environment of the Water Mystery City. That is the Water Spirit Protector. The Water Spirit Protector can make it easier for adventurers to move in the water and can also be used to defend against water attribute attacks. Aegina asked Chinching to buy it very seriously. What could Chinching do? He could only buy one. After that, Aegina moved all the information about the Water Mystery City to Chinching with confidence. In this regard, the top leaders of the guild did not stop it. Generally speaking, information will not be easily disclosed to adventurers who do not meet the regulations, because they are worried that adventurers will be discouraged after knowing the information of deeper floors and discovering the situation of deeper floors. Therefore, the guild basically only gives information according to the level of the adventurer. At the level of Morningstar IV.2, the intelligence of the lower level would not be given under normal circumstances. But obviously Morningstar's situation is different, so Aina passed smoothly when she went to get the intelligence. Morningstar spent an afternoon memorizing all the information of the Water Mystery City and also memorized the information of several deeper floors. Now it is time for this information to come into play. The 3 floors from the 25th to the 27th floor are all penetrated by the dark river formed under the giant waterfall. Therefore, many aquatic monsters and aquatic materials will be born in these 3 floors. Morningstar remembered that the branch-like objects growing on the crystal rock on the opposite side of the river are the specialty of the water labyrinth. They are a material called labyrinth coral, which is a special collection item that can only be seen in the lower level of the Water Mystery City. If it were someone else, seeing the turbulent river, they probably wouldn't want to go over and collect these labyrinth corals because they would fall into the river if they were not careful. At that time, they would need to fight the monsters hidden in the river. Although the river is just a normal rapids, and there is nothing special, if anyone wants to enter the river area, aquatic monsters living in the river will definitely emerge from the river to attack the adventurers. However, there is no need to be afraid from Morningstar. Morningstar directly entered the reincarnation eye mode and directly used gravity and repulsion to fly up and fly to the other side of the river. Without any surprise, when Morningstar flew over the river, there was a sudden movement in the turbulent river. A huge fish the size of a human jumped out of the river and bit Morningstar with its bloody mouth full of sharp teeth. Morningstar noticed this strange fish and knew its name. It was a surprise attack fish, one of the main monsters in the Water Mystery City. Facing the monster that was bearing its fangs at him, Chun-Shing moved his mind, and a series of light cannons flew out from the azure flames on Chun-Shing's body, bombarding the attacking fish densely, directly blasting the attacking fish into pieces. In midair, a magic stone the size of an adult's fist slowly fell into a giant hand made of light. Chun-Shing manipulated his giant hand and put the magic stone into the bag on his waist, then continued to fly to the opposite side and landed steadily on the crystal rock ground. Taking out professional tools, Chun-Shing began to dig the labyrinth coral. The number of labyrinth corals encountered by Chun-Shing was quite large, a large piece, and the color was also very good. Chun-Shing estimated that it should be able to sell for about 6 or 7 million. I just came to the lower level and got such a big harvest. The dungeon is really a treasure place. However, this treasure place is only for the strong. Only the strong can be regarded as looking for treasures, while the weak are just here to survive and earn some meager income. Shaking his head, Chun-Shing returned to the opposite side and continued his adventure. Along the way, Chun-Shing encountered all the monsters that should be in the water maze. Metal crabs, big water snakes, surprise fish, crystal turtles, devil giant mosquitoes, mermaids, moss giants, everything is available. In the harvest, perhaps Chun-Shing's luck today is very good. Along the way, almost all the monsters that Morningstar encountered dropped materials. The steel shell of the metal crab, the fins of the big water snake, the fangs of the surprise fish, and so on. Moreover, after turning many corners, Morningstar encountered a large area of labyrinth coral, which was even larger than the one he encountered before. Morningstar harvested it beautifully and earned nearly 10 million in tiers. Morningstar estimated that, counting the magic stones, dropped materials, and collected items together, in just 1 hour, Morningstar had obtained nearly 5,000 valis. 50 million valis. This is a fortune that ordinary people can't earn in their lifetime. But I hit it easily. The dungeon is simply a paradise for the strong. Morningstar muttered inwardly while looking at the labyrinth corals and monster drop materials in the system space. Shaking his head slightly, Morningstar stopped sighing and continued to move forward. The water mystery is really big. Morningstar has been walking for a long time with the map, but has not found the passage to the next floor. I don't know if I can pass the entire water mystery and go to the new floor today. Oh yes, by the way, the new floor master, the 2-headed dragon Amphisbaena, can move back and forth between the 25th and 27th floors. I don't know if I can meet him. With such expectations, Chun-Shing continued to move forward along the route of the map. However, Chun-Shing's luck seemed to be really good. Not long after walking, Chun-Shing actually encountered a special existence. In a cave on the 25th floor, Chun-Shing, who was using the light vein to detect the enemy's position, looked at the mermaid floating in the water, secretly observing him, and her eyes were not scarlet, and fell into deep thought. Remember, this is the heretic mermaid Mary, right? Looking at the picture presented in his mind, Chinching thought silently in his heart. If nothing unexpected happens, this mermaid secretly observing him in the river is a conscious heretic, a heretic who can only live in water, the mermaid Mary. After hesitating for a moment, Chinching stepped to the river and squatted down. How about coming out to talk? Although the situation in the water cannot be seen with the naked eye, in the picture shown by the light vein, the mermaid Mary is 3 meters deep in front of him. Mary in the water also heard what Chinching said, and the whole heretic was shocked. Mary did not respond to Chinching, but left at the fastest speed. Watching Mary slipping away like a rocket in the water, Chinching's eyes twitched. Sure enough, I'm not the protagonist, and I don't have such a strong affinity that can make the heretic who met for the first time feel good about me, or even treat me with blood. However, after thinking about it, Chinching didn't think it was strange. In the original book, Mary ran out to meet Belle when she first met Belle, because Belle's situation had spread among the heretics. Mary also knew Belle's situation and knew that Belle would not hurt her, so she naturally appeared in front of Belle. As for me, Mary was in contact with me for the first time, and she didn't know my situation, so she naturally didn't dare to appear in front of me. After all, the heretics knew that the adventurers were hostile to them. Who knows if they will be killed as monsters if they appear in front of the adventurers rashly. Mary's behavior of running away directly is normal. After thinking about this clearly, Chinching no longer cared about the heretic and continued to move forward. What Chinching didn't know was that not long after Chinching left, Mary ran back, emerged from the water, and secretly looked at the direction where Chinching left for a long time. This adventurer didn't seem to want to hurt me. Was it my illusion? Meanwhile, on the other side, in the upper layer, AC and others were moving step by step towards the middle layer. Chapter 74, Dark Magic, Cursed Magic, Curse of Dionysus. It feels like I can't test it at all. Walking in the dim passage, Tiona looked at the second-generation Urga in her hand, a little bored. Let's go to the deeper floors, Tioni suggested. Well, go. AC also nodded. I don't know where Mr. Morningstar has gone, Lafia said with regret. 2 days ago, AC and others learned a lot of combat skills from Morningstar. These 2 days have been settling down and integrating some of the learned skills. After 2 days, they felt that they had integrated some, so they thought about going to the dungeon to try. Several people thought about looking for Morningstar together, and while adventuring together, let Morningstar help guide them to see if they have made any progress. As a result, they went to the library, but the library was not open at all, and they didn't know whether Morningstar was in the library or if he went out. There was no way. They had to go down directly. Lafia really wanted to see Morningstar. 2 days ago, after being encouraged by AC and others, she really mustered up the courage to find Chinching to exchange magic. But she didn't meet Chinching, so Lafia was naturally disappointed. Well, let's talk about it next time. Seeing Lafia's disappointment, Dion reached out and patted Lafia's head, comforting her softly. Morningstar is very gentle. You go to him to exchange magic, and he won't refuse. Just go next time. Dion also spoke to comfort her. Lafia, don't be discouraged. AC also spoke to comfort her. Yeah, I know. Lafia nodded, calmed herself down, and replied with a smile. Well, let's go to the 18th floor. Rest on the 18th floor tonight, and then continue to go deeper tomorrow and go to the lower floor. 960-inch after seeing Lafia recover, Dion said to the others. AC and Lafia both had no problem and nodded. Well, let's do it this way. We also need to exchange all these magic stones for Wallace. But, speaking of it, the town of Rivera is really cruel. Everything is expensive, and the exchange rate for Wallace is much lower than on the ground. Diana also nodded, but then complained. No way. Who made this a dungeon? Dion shrugged and smiled. If Morningstar was here, he would definitely feel familiar. This is the situation in the original book when AC and others formed a team to go to the dungeon after the expedition. It's just that in the original book, both Lavilia and Finn followed, and this time there were only 4 of them. In the original book, when several people formed a team to go to the dungeon, it also triggered the Rivera attack and defense war. However, the current situation is too different from the original book. It has been more than 10 days since AC and others returned from the failed expedition. It is estimated that they will not encounter the Rivera attack and defense war. However, things are not absolute, and they may encounter it. After all, I haven't heard of any extraordinary things happening in the 18-story Rivera town before. It is estimated that the attack and defense of Rivera has not happened yet. If it really happened, the ground will definitely know about it, and there will be adventurers who will go back and publicize it. The group took the 18th floor as their destination and went deeper. Unlike Morningstar, AC and others did not use the flying ability to fly directly. So it took a lot of time to reach the 18th floor, which took more than 2 hours. Calculate the time. It should be evening now, almost night. Let's find a place to stay. Diana glanced at the crystal inlaid on the ceiling, carefully estimated the cost of their way down, and said to the others, "Well, but we don't have the props for accommodation, so we can only go to Rivera and let those guys kill us." Dion nodded and said, "They came down this time just to practice the fighting skills they got from Morningstar and earn some pocket money by the way, and they didn't think about staying in the dungeon. But now they can't test on the upper floor, so they can only go deeper, so they can only take a short rest on the 18th floor." No one else had any objection to Diana's proposal. After taking a look at the direction of Rivera Town, the group headed straight for that place. Meanwhile, on the other side, Morningstar also successfully passed through the Water Mystery City and arrived at the 28th floor. The 28th floor is another safe floor after the 18th floor. There are 2 known safe floors after the 28th floor, 39th floor, and 50th floor. Morningstar randomly found a place with a better terrain and began to set up a temporary camp. When Morningstar came, he did not have any props for camping, because all these props for camping were put into the system space by Morningstar and could be taken out at any time. This was the first time that Morningstar stayed overnight in the dungeon. Before that, when Morningstar attacked the middle level, he went back and forth directly and never stayed overnight in the dungeon. Therefore, Morningstar had no experience in setting up camp. It took Morningstar more than 10 minutes to complete a tent. There were many adventurers setting up camp in the wild on the 18th floor, but there were very few on the 28th floor. When looking for a place to camp, Chinching only saw a few adventurers, much fewer than the adventurers on the 18th floor. The adventurers on the 28th floor are only about 1/10 of the adventurers on the 18th floor. This is no wonder. After all, this is already the lower floor. There are not many adventurers who can conquer the lower floor. But Chinching didn't care about it. After setting up the tent, Chinching took out the ingredients he bought when he passed by the market in the morning and started cooking. Instantly, the whole camp was filled with fragrance. That is, the place where Chinching camped was relatively remote. Otherwise, it would definitely attract other adventurers stationed on the 28th floor. After a delicious dinner, Chinching took a bath in the nearby pond and then returned to his tent to update his grace. It's good to be able to update your grace. You can update it at any time in the dungeon, improve your ability value at any time, and improve your strength at any time. Unlike other adventurers, they all need to return to the ground before they can use the hand of the Lord God to improve their grace and update their strength. Morningstar IV.2 Strength, E456D 598 Durability, E489D 578 Dexterity, E479D 539 Agility, E499D 587 Magic, I35H102 Development Ability. Magic, I'm Magic Thought, Body Son of Light, Son of Darkness Skills, Sangon, I Blessing of the God of War. Looking at the change in the value of the grace ability, Morningstar nodded with satisfaction. Although his strength has become stronger, it has become easier to deal with LV3 monsters. But the dungeon has a rule that the deeper the floor, the shorter the frequency of monsters. The speed of monsters born in the Water Mystery City is much faster than that of monsters in the middle layer, and the number is also much greater than that of the middle layer. Often, there are more than a dozen or 20 monsters born at a time, which is comparable to the monster feast in the middle layer. In the lower level, If you want to call a monster feast, it is estimated that at least more than 3,000 or even more than 40 monsters are needed. The large number of monsters naturally requires a lot of training for Qinxing. So even if Qinxing's strength has become stronger under the attack of a large number of monsters, Qinxing's ability value improvement speed is not much different, about the same as before in the middle level. Nodding with satisfaction, Qinxing burned the grace paper. Then, Qinxing looked at the palm of his hand. An array of black light emerged from Qinxing's hand. Nothing to do. Let's use dark magic. Before, I didn't have time to develop dark magic after I got it, and I fell into the gentle land. Now I have time, so I will develop it. However, as Qinxing got a deeper understanding of dark magic, Qinxing's face became weird. Damn, it's really dark, but I like it, Looking at the black light floating in his hand, Qinxing rarely showed a smirk on his face. Before, he had not come into contact with and developed dark magic. Now that he has come into contact with it, Qinxing just realized that dark magic is completely opposite to light magic. No, it should be said that they are opposite in terms of auxiliary magic. The attack and defense magic of light magic and dark magic are normal, and the auxiliary magic of light magic is some additional magic, healing magic, and the like. When it comes to dark magic, my goodness, the auxiliary of dark magic is not so much auxiliary magic as curse magic, which brings various negative effects to the enemy. The source of the curse, Now it's good, I don't need to keep an eye on Dionysus. With my status, if I burst out with all my strength, I can definitely have an impact on Dionysus. I will curse you once a day in the future. In the dim tent, the upper half of Qinxing's face was shrouded in darkness, revealing only a pair of azure pupils, muttering in a low voice, as if there was a smirk hidden in his words. Start now. Buzz. The black halo spread from Qinxing's hand and then disappeared without a trace. At the moment when Morningstar released the source of the curse on the ground, in the base camp of the Dionysus family, Dionysus, who was holding a cup of black tea and a newspaper in his hand and reading leisurely, suddenly stopped what he was doing. Then, when Dionysus was confused, his nose and mouth kept flowing out, soaking his clothes and body, and it kept flowing and couldn't be stopped at all. Lord Dionysus! Not far away, Felwai saw this scene, and her pupils shrank suddenly, and she rushed over quickly. No problem. Dionysus stretched out his hand to stop Felweiss, who rushed over, and said softly, Curse! I didn't expect that someone would curse the gods, and it was successful. It's really interesting, Dionysus murmured in a low voice, and while speaking, black liquid continued to spurt out of his mouth, staining the ground. However, Dionysus didn't care about these, but his eyes gradually showed a look of interest. Interesting, very interesting. Chapter 75. Once a day, meeting Loki's family again, success. Feeling the feedback from the curse source magic, Qinxing knew that the curse magic he had just released had worked on Dionysus. This immediately relieved Qinxing's anger. Although he didn't know what was happening with Dionysus, since he was cursed, it would definitely be uncomfortable. Next, he didn't have to find a way to deal with Dionysus. He just needed to give Dionysus this shot every night. Compared to looking for an opportunity to beat this guy up, cursing this guy in secret made Qinxing feel better. The main reason was that with the existence of the world's grace, even if Dionysus used divine power to search for the source of the curse, he couldn't find it on himself. Dionysus could only swallow this bitter fruit with frustration. If it was just a curse once, Dionysus might not be too angry because this guy's character was calm and he was able to hide for so many years because of this character. But being cursed every day, Dionysus would probably break down even if he could hold his temper. Morningstar could imagine how Dionysus would break down after being cursed every day. Shaking his head, Morningstar stopped thinking about Dionysus and continued to study dark magic. On the other hand, AC and others successfully exchanged for Wallace in the town of Rivera and then found a hotel in the town to live in. However, AC and others seemed to have good luck. They did not encounter the Rivera attack and defense battle in the original book. The town of Rivera was very peaceful. Early the next morning, AC and others checked out of the room and continued to move to deeper floors. As we discussed last night, We will fight all the way from the 19th floor until we integrate all the skills we have learned into our battle rhythm and then go back. Do you have any objections? Walking in front, Tioni turned around and spoke to Tiona and AC. Well, let's do it. We can't come down too late. After all, we have to go back to find Brother Morningstar. We can't let Lafia wait too long. Diana nodded, then looked at Lafia and said, I'm Fine. It's okay to stay a few more days. Hearing Diana bring the topic to herself, Lafia waved her hand and said, she really likes to go back to find Morningstar early to discuss magic, but it's also a happy thing for her to go to the dungeon with AC and others. Ace, is it okay? Diana ignored Lafia and looked at AC to confirm. Well, no problem. The four of them left the safe floor and entered the 19th floor quickly. Although they entered a new floor, it was obvious that the fighting skills of AIC and the others were too strong, and the monsters in the middle floor could not train them at all. After testing it and finding it useless, the three of them continued to move downwards. The three of them fought all the way from the 19th floor to the lower floor to the Water Mystery City, and then left the Water Mystery City with ease and continued to move to deeper floors. There was no need to be like Chan Xing, who entered the Water Mystery City for the first time, wandering around like a headless fly and spent a day to get out. Not long after AIC and the others left the safe floor, a figure wrapped tightly in black armor passed through the passage from the direction they walked and entered the 18th floor. After entering the 18th floor, this figure went straight to a tavern. After staying in the tavern for half an hour, he left the tavern and found the most expensive hotel in Rivera Town to stay. At the same time, another figure passed through the passage leading to the 19th floor and entered the 18th floor. Is it here? A female adventurer with long red hair and a pair of emerald eyes looked at the direction of Rivera Town and murmured in a low voice. On the other side, when AC and others fought all the way down in the prelude of something happening in Rivera Town, Morningstar also woke up early and left the 28th floor, entered a deeper floor, and began to explore a new floor. It's still the same sentence as before. The deeper the floor, the stronger the monsters are, the faster the frequency of monsters being born, and the more it can train Morningstar. At least, after coming to the 30th floor, Morningstar encountered 2 battles with a monster feast on the 17th floor. It's really good. There should be more such battles. While shuttling through the encirclement of monsters, Chinching muttered to himself, and then spent a few minutes to kill a large group of monsters. Although the intensity is similar to the threat posed to me by the previous monster feast, I am now stronger, much stronger than before. Chinching muttered to himself while picking up magic stones. The number of monsters was too large, which brought Chinching the same threat as when he encountered the monster feast before, but Chinching did not have enough combat experience at that time, so it took so much time to destroy the monster feast. But now Chinching, after fighting with AC and others, has rich combat experience. Facing such a battle, Chinching will naturally not be as troublesome as before. After picking up the magic stone, Morningstar continued to move forward and continued to move towards the next level according to the trend of the map. The deeper the floor, the larger the map area of the floor. The 30th floor is already a very deep floor. Morningstar spent nearly an hour to find the passage to the next floor and start a new adventure. After arriving at the 31st floor, Morningstar was not warmly welcomed by the dungeon, but encountered a lucky thing. I didn't expect that yesterday's luck could last until today. There's so many blue ores. If I collect them all and sell them on the ground, I can sell them for at least 10 million. Looking at the large area of metal ores in front of him, Morningstar showed a happy expression and then began to collect without hesitation. Adventurers really do business without capital. Although it is very dangerous, it is also very easy to get rich. While collecting, Birdstar sighed in his heart. Soon, a large area of blue ores was cleaned up by Morningstar and put into the system space. Morningstar also continued to move forward. Along the way, Chinching's good luck from yesterday seemed to have been maintained. Every few passages, he would encounter some precious materials, and Chinching accepted them without hesitation. After 6 hours, Chinching went directly from the 31st floor to the 33rd floor. The new safe floor is on the 39th floor. At my current speed, It will take a whole day to reach the 39th floor. Let's go back first. I will come here tomorrow with the reincarnation I mowed, and then continue to explore. Looking at the dark passage in the distance, Qinxing, who had been advancing for 8 or 9 hours, gave up the idea of continuing to move forward and prepared to go back to the 28th floor to stay for another day and continue to explore new floors tomorrow. Qinxing really didn't expect to meet AC and others on the 28th.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.